Well, good evening there, Ian, and hello to all of you out there in internet land. Welcome to the latest episode of Blank as a Fart. My name's Gabe. This is Ian, my podcast partner. We're burning our way through Twin Peaks, and tonight we're covering part 5 of The Return. For me, I'm having more and more fun as The Return goes on. I think Ian is having less and less fun.
Yes.
We are really, really starting to diverge in our enjoyment of the series at this point, and I think that's fascinating. I'm getting the feeling, based on some of your texts, that you're starting to see this as a bit of a self-indulgent exercise on David Lynch's part.
I mean, he hasn't done anything good since Mulholland Drive, and it was pretty much like a downhill from there. And this is just one of those further things in the belt of just like, yeah. This was by far the worst episode so far. I was just like, this brings nothing. We can, we get rid of this episode, and I bet I could pick up on the next episode fine.
I won't argue with you in that this is probably the episode of least consequence, at least as far as I can tell at this point. There is very little actual story motion here. Yeah, there's just not much going on. It's some little things we learn here and there. Some of them are, those unsettling things that we enjoy about Twin Peaks, but a lot of them are just like, okay. So, yeah, we'll decide which is which as we plug along here.
Oh, I've already decided which is which.
Oh, yeah. We'll let the viewers decide for themselves.
I'll try and be less Gabby this time. There's certain things I do want to comment on, but I won't break out into song, midway through.
Yeah. No, there's a difference between Gabby and ranty. I think we can walk that line.
I'll save the rant for the end if there is one. There's not really one. It's just yeah.
Oh, I'll rant. There's not one. There is one. He's all over the place tonight, folks.
I won't gab. I will rant. No.
One or the other. Anyway, any housekeeping plugs? The email that we never checked, Blank as a Fart Pod.
Everywhere. The podcast is
everywhere.
Available on
Blank
everywhere.
as a Fart. Yeah.
You can check us out live streaming on
YouTube. We managed to find a Twin Peaks related name for a Twin Peaks podcast that had never been used before on our first try.
And Gabe never checks the email. So, what's the point?
And I never checked the email. So, yeah.
And it seems to be, well, we are getting more traction on the actual podcast. I think on Spotify, we got around 25, 26 hits this week, which is new.
Usually. Oh, nice.
So that's slowly growing. YouTube is still our preferred. It seems to be the preferred platform for everybody to kind of, and not live version, but just like to hit it later on. It seems to be like the spot where everyone hits us. But we're
Very
growing
cool.
slowly. We'll have 100 people average at the end when
people don't watch so they can skip Ian's rants.
No, I think the reason people are watching is because of the rants. I think that's what makes it fun.
No, I mean I should say they don't watch live.
Oh,
so they can skip over them.
No, I think
later on.
I think it's what's bringing people in. I do have something interesting to add before we start.
What's that?
So I went to Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't check Metacritic or the other ones, but I did go to Rotten Tomatoes to kind of see what the kind of gauge was on
for just The Return.
Both series, the original series and then this series. And it is interesting. So the original series critically reviewed at 78% Rotten, and then the audience was at a higher 90%. And then The Return critic response is at a 90 something, 94. And then the audience is at a lower 80. And while I wouldn't rate this show in above probably a 70, I do agree with the kind of earlier series better than the new series. So I am tracking that way currently. So I just thought that was something I would bring up.
Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we did discuss, I can't remember whether this was last week or the week before, but the notion of Lynch's work being more of a emotion painting, like the concept of the motion picture rather than a narrative tale. And I think we see more of that in the return. I mean, like I said, like we've said before, there's a lot more soaking in the scenery in this. And yeah, that's just a, a style that holds traction with some viewers and not so much so with others.
I think what I like about the original series is that while it was the new pioneering thing into that whole telling a broader story, the
Hmm.
episodes still had a bit of episodicalness to them. So you would come into a new episode and there would be something kind of new and different for that episode, and then you would get out, and while it would add to the further story, this is really just a continuation of each episode, and it's just
Right.
I
And
don't think
we
it, and
did
I don't think it
discuss
works
that as
very
well.
well. I just don't think it works very well. Like it really shows how dated David Lynch is because it's. I don't think the story is told very well in his like grasp of it, and I think maybe he needed a producer. Maybe he needs a producer, like a more network producer to kind of rein him in because I feel like this is just a little like just unwieldy and out of his control. But art is art.
Yeah. So this is more about splashing paint on the canvas than it is about using a brush.
Well, I think it's telling us how to use the brush, how to dip the brush in the paint, and then like, are you gonna actually paint? No, okay. You're just gonna kind of talk about how beautiful the trees are and how they want to be our friends. Yeah, let's do that. Worked for the other guy. Anyway,
Anyway,
I'm just gonna be cute all episode.
yeah, cute's better than ranty, I suppose.
People like the rants.
Sarcastically cute. People like the rants. Let's get a poll going. Rant or no rant?
That's why they like Joe Rogan, Gabe. That's why they love Joe
Uh,
Rogan.
oh, dude. Uh, anyway, how about we go ahead and begin with our recap? Yeah, let's do it.
Proceed.
So part five starts in Las Vegas at night. We see Gene the hitman and his partner Jake, that other hitman with the ponytail, in their car, staking out the vacant house where they last saw their target, one Dougie Jones. Gene is on the phone with their, like, what do they call him? Employer, fixer? What's the
Handler.
term they use in cyberpunk?
Isn't it handler?
Handler? Yeah, something like that. Whatever you want to call her. She is clearly anxious, as this job was supposed to have been finished by yesterday, but she's got no suggestions as to how to get it done faster. She hangs up in frustration and takes out a BlackBerry. Ooh, that's a quaint. On which she hesitantly types a single word, Argent. I forgot to look that word up before we started the recap. You want to do that real quick?
No, but here's the thing too. Like,
No.
what what does this take place in 2016? Like, I know it's released in like 2016, but does it take place in 2016?
Yeah, 2016 or perhaps 2015, whichever suits the 25-year gap
So
from the
who's
original
no one's
series.
using a BlackBerry back then. Like at that point, like at that
That's
point,
why I called it quaint.
well, I know it's quaint, but like this is another issue with some of this dated. Anyway, not gonna
I
rant.
mean,
Not gonna
as we
rant.
can
Not gonna rant.
establish,
Not gonna rant.
there's technology that may or may not have been of this earth in use already.
The BlackBerry
So
guys.
could be the BlackBerry.
It's loved by
Black. It's got the word black in it, right?
BlackBerry, loved by the devil.
The Black Lodge presents the BlackBerry,
That's how the BlackBerry should have come back.
successor to the Black
The
Box.
BlackBerry should have had like a Black Lodge edition, and then they were just like sold millions, or at least like
It
50
might have helped.
50,000 to the Twin Peaks fans. Gabe would have got one.
Really do. I think the touchscreen was the death of the BlackBerry, but that's really off track here, and we're not even one scene in. The single word text appears to be sent to some black box with two red dots on it in some basement lit by a single light bulb based on these edits that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, more weirdo technology here. We're off to Buckhorn, where Constance has completed her autopsy on the headless John Doe. Her gallows humor falls on deaf ears as the detectives appear to be all about business today. I thought the jokes were pretty good, to be honest.
No. It
No,
is funny that she's like, I'm a comedian or some shit. Like she does stand up.
she does stand up on the
Uh,
weekends. Yeah,
yeah, no.
it's I like her as a character. She's one of those people that like stands out in the rest of the world around her, like a little more vibrantly, I feel.
Okay.
So yeah, she amuses me. I've seen her in some other stuff before, and she's always pretty charming. So Jane Addams is the name of the actress.
I want to say I really tried hard to not drink through this episode. Like I was like, if I don't drink, and then we do this episode, and I don't get like inebriated, I won't talk as much. But like halfway through the episode, it's like, there's no way I can't. I need to drink.
Your problem is you're watching the episode immediately before we record.
It would be Gabe. It's the only way I'm gonna watch it.
I'm sure.
It's
Yeah,
the
I
only way
know.
I'm gonna watch it, dude. I like, have so much else going on. Like if I like, there's no way I'm gonna like actually stick to like trying to watch it like 2 days prior. There's like this is the only. Plus, it's then fresh in my head. It's like
Right,
there.
right. And honestly, I did just finish my recap like hour and a half before we went to air tonight. So
Oh, so he's giving me shit.
yeah, yeah. I also put in a lot more back time on this than
Well,
you
I mean,
do.
it
So
was your It was your podcast idea, and you know, yeah.
not disagreeing with that point. Let's see. Constance informs the detectives that the victim hadn't eaten in several days, but they still found an item in the stomach. A wedding ring inscribed with the words to Dougie with love, Janie E. We're starting to see some of these threads connect a little bit here and there, at least. Not everything is so disconnected now. And we'll add to that a little later on. In the federal prison down the way, Mr. C lays calmly on his bunk, displaying great powers of foresight as he accurately predicts the arrival of his meal. Washing his hands before eating, he glances up into the mirror above his sink, flashing back to the day he escaped from the lodge and reflecting on his partnership with Bob. As he continues to look into the mirror, we see his face kind of slightly shift, revealing Bob's face underneath, or like harmonizing with. This was a weird effect. It looked, it was definitely a step up from the stuff we saw in the original series with like where they had his face superimposed on Leland's or whatever. This was a much more unsettling kind of look at it because his face almost seemed like to melt into it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're still with me. That's good, Mr. C says.
Okay.
At least this gives you a little piece. Like, I think maybe what we're establishing here is like Mr. C was worried during that episode where he passed out that Bob had been ripped back into the lodge while he stayed behind, but they're
Right.
both still.
So this is an interesting thing that like the doppelganger. So this obviously solidifies the fact that the doppelganger was released, and then Bob
Bob hitched a ride.
hitched a ride,
Yeah.
basically. So that's where he's just been there the entire time, I guess, mostly. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's been the co pilot, but not necessarily driving. And, think of it like a different way. Like if Leland had like welcomed and acknowledged Bob's presence in him instead of just kind of like, you know, instead of what I think was probably like traumatically shutting it out and trying to ignore it, then this is kind of more of the result that we would have. Like if Bob didn't have someone who was constantly fighting with him on a moral level, and yeah, this was probably his plan all along, is to swap Cooper out with somebody. Like we still haven't established how the doppelgangers who are, yeah. So lots of potential theories to be drawn from that.
But I guess what I don't understand is like what's the point in that? But I guess they'll probably never explain it.
Point in
So,
what?
well, if the doppelganger is always going to be a shitty human being, why would Bob want to hitch a ride with that person? Like, why not corrupt someone else and do double the damage? I don't understand why he's just kind of passively sitting in Cooper
Oh,
or
because
Mr. C. I don't really. That's not being
Bob
explained.
feeds
That's
Bob feeds on fear and pain.
yeah, but why? I get that, but he could still do that himself.
Because well, no, he kind of has to like mentally force Leland into that. He has to take Leland over to do that.
Yeah, but isn't that
Mr.
also
C does
feeding?
it
Isn't that
willingly.
also feeding him though by doing that? Like, I just feel like
Yeah, but
it
Mr.
just.
C does it
I'm.
willingly more frequently.
I guess, but
So Bob's
uh,
eating, Bob's feasting right now
I guess it just seems
because Mr.
weird.
C doesn't have to be goaded into causing pain and misery. It's just kind of what he does. It's kind of in his
I think
nature.
it's just a
So,
fitful thing that they're just riding away. It just seems so kind of lazy. Again, in my opinion, lazy. So it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Let's make our first trip to Twin Peaks proper this week to a local car dealership where we learn the fate of former high school football star and teenage grooming victim Mike Nelson. He looks to be the boss of the place, so I think he's doing pretty well for himself. I forgot to look for a wedding ring. Did you see a wedding ring on his finger?
Oh, I didn't
Just
even look.
curious.
I didn't even look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Not relevant, but I was curious. Over the intercom, he asks his secretary to send in Stephen, a confident but slovenly looking young man in a shabby suit. It would seem the kid is an applicant as Mike verbally tears him a new one for his. Oh, I used shabby again here. Damn it. I'm usually a better writer than that, folks. Sorry. Let's say crappy for his crappy resume writing skills and his overall lack of professionalism. Mike's assessment is brutal, and he holds nothing back before he sends Steven away. What an asshole, Mike mutters under his breath after the kid has exited. Frankly, I am 100% on Mike's side here.
So that kid looks super familiar. I don't know what else I've seen him in. When I couldn't like looking for his name in the credits, I didn't recognize it. So like I
Uh,
know I've seen him like a million times, but I could not fucking place.
I mean, again, right now it is easier for you to quickly access information of this nature. So if you wouldn't mind,
I'm not going to.
the actor's name is. I refuse.
I
I
refuse.
steadfastly refuse
What's his
to
name?
cooperate any further in his podcast.
What's his name?
Uh, Caleb Landry Jones is the actor's name.
I just expect you to have all the
And yeah,
answers,
I did.
Gabe, at every turn.
Most of the time I do. And I did look a lot of these actors and actresses up, and
Oh, that's right.
a lot of that
he's
information kind of
he's
escaped me.
he's Banshee in X-Men First Class.
Okay, yes.
All right, there you go. Answered that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he does a great job of making himself detestable in this episode.
He's been in a lot of things, but that's what I
He
recognize him
has.
from. Anyway.
Yeah, ditto. But yeah, I mean, as far as like he gets more material to work with later on, but yeah, like fucking awful human being, and we meet quite a few of them this week. Now I'm sorry, I was referring to the character. I want to specify, not the actor. The character Stephen is an awful human being.
I
I
mean,
don't know Stephen
he could
Landry
be.
or Caleb
Let
Landry
me check. Let
Jones.
me check his personal life. He might be an awful person.
Yeah, we got another Kang the Conqueror situation going on here.
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Yeah, no, yeah, just wanted to clarify in case any litigious parties are listening. Now we move to the sheriff station, where Frank is on the phone with his brother Harry discussing the latest test results
In Hawk's office.
in Hawk's office. But there might be a reason for that.
There isn't, but
There is.
not really.
The news doesn't sound great as Frank ends the call with a hang tough when Lucy contacts him on the intercom to alert him that his wife is on her way. This is why he is in Hawk's office instead of his own. He's trying to avoid his wife.
She still finds him, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes, she does.
And also, what's the point of this scene? This is anyway. Not gonna rant. Just gonna.
I mean, we don't know much about Frank other than that he's Harry's brother. So this is us learning about Frank's life. That's what this scene
Do
is
we
for.
care? Is it important? Really?
That's a better question. The first question you asked was dumb. This is
No,
pretty obvious
no.
what
It's
this
not
scene is
dumb.
for.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but it's
Why
like
is the scene necessary? Maybe
here, but
that's a better
there's a
question.
better way to do that. Like make his wife annoying initially, and then now I know why he's hiding. Not explaining it away in exposition. Again, this makes fucking Lynch seem like such an amateur filmmaker, and it's just such a cliche scene. It's just like there's so much. This episode is so full of cliches. It's mind numbing. Anyway, carry on.
I think cliches are a kind of shorthand for a lot of filmmakers.
Well, it's like this. Lynch is relying on them in this episode.
He is. No lie there. Our first impression of Doris Truman is not a flattering one, as she aggressively harangues her husband about, in order, Dwight's diarrhea, leaky pipes, black mold, and her father's death trap of a car. Frank offers calm reassurance and reasonable solutions to all of the problems plaguing Doris, but she appears to be the type of person who would prefer to ignore reasonable solutions and reassurance in order to remain miserable. You're impossible, she bellows as she storms out of the office, Frank's face remaining impassive throughout.
I'm kind of on her side. He's like, go buy a bucket. And it's like, she's like, what? I can go buy a bucket, but I can't go buy something like I want? Like,
I'm on Frank's side.
I'm on her side 100%. Like, I don't care about Frank.
Yeah, no.
I don't think Frank's important to this story so far. I don't understand why they decided to, like, do this thing with Harry. I think, like, if Harry didn't want to be, just write him out. Like, why are we doing this? This fake, like, oh, Harry, you got some more tests? It's like, who gives a fuck?
I would
Who gives
I
a
would
fuck?
add credence to I mean I wouldn't argue that this scene doesn't add credence to your theory that uh writing Harry out of the show could have been as simple as giving Hawk all of his lines.
He got
And
shot in the line of
maybe
duty, and Hawk wants to honor him. Like, I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Like, I just feel like
I, I don't know if we've touched on this yet, but Robert Forster was David
right.
Lynch's
No,
original choice for Harry
right.
Truman.
We talked about that last
So
week.
I think when Michael Onkian turned him down, he simply saw this as the opportunity to work with with Forrester.
I would have made it like I would have been like, yeah, he left or died, and Robert Forster was like the I would have made it this guy that comes in, and then Hawk was supposed to be in the ranks, and then there'd be this like conflict between those two guys. I feel like there's so many more better like character development ideas here than doing what Lynch is doing, and like this is just, in my opinion, makes Lynch seem like such a not. This is why he's a filmmaker
Use
and
it.
not into television,
Use
man.
the H
This is
word.
why he's into film. This is why he's a filmmaker and not into television. This
Use
whole,
the H word, Ian.
he's not good. He's a
You've
hack.
already done it over text.
He's a hack.
There it is. There it is.
Nah, I didn't do it over text. I did
Ooh.
it over Discord. Way different. And I
Close
like how
enough.
he is like he's coming across as a fucking hack, especially in this episode. Anyway,
We'll let that inspire some discussion in the comments.
no, it's not discussion. It's fact. All right.
Oh,
Like
ouch.
as a fart. It's a fact. You can pull quote. You can pull quote that.
We're diverging here, folks. We are diverging.
Anyway, go ahead.
Back in the suburbs of Las Vegas, Janie E is still struggling to get Dougie ready for work. She knots his tie for him as she drags him to the car, telling him that she hid the money and counted it 425,000 smackaroos. She instructs Dougie to contact them so they can set up a time to pay them back the $50,000 that they are owed. Dougie does not appear to be registering any of this. He's too busy being moved to tears by the ennui of Sonny Jim, who is seated in the back seat of the car awaiting the drive to school, looking supremely bored. This prompts Janie E to remark that Dougie E is acting weird as shit, before it occurs to her that Dougie has no car and she'll also need to drive him to work. All right, so cliche Janie E is a walking cliche. Let's talk about how Naomi Watts approaches that. Like, how do you think she's doing in her acting right now?
I mean, she's fine. Naomi Watts is obviously a really good actress. She's always been a really good This is not her fault. This is the fact that Lynch is asking us to suspend our fucking disbelief that she still believes that this guy's fine and can function. Yet she spent all morning and the other night dealing with him. Like I have to suspend my disbelief that I, as a human being, if I was with this guy for a night and the morning, that, I wouldn't think there was something fucking wrong with him. And she doesn't think there's anything wrong with him. Okay. Having met the previous Dougie, having seen what that guy's like
she does say he's acting weird as shit. She does notice.
She does see that, but he's not only that, he looks different. He's like,
yeah,
whatever.
Everybody
there's
notices
such a
this
massive,
stuff.
Yeah. I think this is this is Lynch taking a joke as far as he can take it. And for me, I'm just like, I'm out on this. I don't care about this. Like all this stuff with it, it's just like, it's just so hard to swallow for me. Like I just can't. I can't. Like
so here's my argument here.
Oh, okay. Yes.
If you'll stop ranting for a little bit, you are ranting.
That was just gabbing.
So Dougie is obviously, or not Dougie, Cooper within Dougie is obviously being guided by forces outside of human nature. Yes?
Okay,
agreed.
That's not what I'm arguing here. Honestly, I think
that's a yes or no question, Ian. I have more.
Okay, fine. All right. Sure.
So then, is it not reasonable to assume that these outside forces can also influence, people who are fully aware into aiding this journey of his?
I do not buy this. I do not buy that. That was never something that happened.
Find your lack
that
of
was
faith
not
disturbing.
something that happened in the original series. That is now
bullshit.
That's not
bullshit.
What happened. Nah, that's not what happened.
It's what was happening the whole time.
No, I don't.
Cooper
is
getting messages from giants, from radio signals from outer space.
That's still just Coop. That's not other people. That's the other people in the show. We're not getting giant calls, except for maybe the Major
Briggs,
the one,
the log lady.
With her, okay, fine. Even if that is the case, it is not his wife. I mean, you're saying that people that actually said that they were getting those. I don't buy. Everyone that he's coming encounter with is getting messages from people now. I don't think so.
Not always literally. Not everybody can see those messages arriving. Cooper is obviously sensitive to that sort of energy, so he can interpret those signals a little more directly.
That's not why I think. Not in this situation. I don't think that's what's happening to Cooper. In the past, maybe. I don't think that's what's happening to Cooper right now.
I would disagree.
No, I think what's happening with Cooper is that Cooper is a good soul, and you're seeing him in his purest state. That's why he's able to.
That's not what we're arguing. What we're arguing,
but I'm arguing is
people not notice that he is obviously disabled at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think it's because other people are being like, "Oh, he's disabled, so give him a hand."
Okay,
I do not think that's what's going on.
So if I've read a sci-fi novel, and I forget exactly where this comes from, it may even be a comic book of some sort, but there's a particular concept that they call a perception filter, which is you notice something because it's obvious, but there's something that triggers you to make it not matter.
Sure.
So I can see some sort of electric signal being broadcast into a brain.
That's fine. And that's fine for you to believe. But for me and the way that this show has programmed me, David Lynch likes to, and Mark Frost, like to hit you over the head with that. So like if it's a person that's getting incoming waves, there's usually exposition that they hit you over the head with to tell you that that's happening. A log for a lady. You know what I'm saying? Or Major
Yeah,
Briggs has gone out and experienced, or he says it in a spooky way. Or Cooper sees a giant or a midget or whatever
right.
he sees.
These are far more subtle influences.
Oh, I no, I do
It's a
not. So
ripple
I do
effect.
not believe it in any way that that's what's happening. It is just a comedy of errors that Lynch
You're
thinks is
not, I
happening.
mean,
That is what
in
I
this
think
respect, you're not
100%.
going to get an explanation. All I'm throwing
That's
out
what I'm
there is a
saying.
theory. Like,
Oh, I
nobody's
know,
going to tell you that
I
this is
know,
what's happening.
I know. That's
But
and I
this is the
think
way I see
no,
it
that's
based on.
fine. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's a comedy of errors that Lynch wants to see this guy fumble through the world, but make the right choices because he's ultimately good. So he's always going to make the good choices. That's I think that's what's happening right now. Like because he's flipped 100%. He's not going to do. He's not going to contact. Because it is what it is. It is what it is. I just don't believe that the.
You're very, very angry about this
I don't like
episode.
it. I don't. I didn't like it. It is very garbage, and some of it's shot incredibly garbagey. Anyway, go ahead.
Wow. Anyway, back in Rancho Rosa,
Only my
Gene
second
and
beer.
Jake
Only my second beer, guys.
starting to take the fun out of this, Ian.
Well, I hope so. No. What did you expect? Did you not want to have a dialogue about this?
This
What I
isn't
really
a
thought?
dialogue.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay,
I
I
will say. I
understand
will.
that's
I
what you
will.
think, but you're wrong.
All right. Okay. Okay. No, I get it.
All right. So back in Rancho Rosa, Gene and Jake are making another pass, observing the missing car in question, still parked in the same driveway it was left in. Not too long after they turn the corner down the block, another muscle car, this one black, pulls up to the same vacant lot and parks long enough to take an extended stare at that same car in the driveway. They linger a bit more before moving on at a somewhat faster pace than the previous car. At a large office building in the city, Janie E. and her ancient wood paneled Jeep have pulled up to the curb. This must be where Dougie works. Cajoling Dougie like a stubborn puppy, she finally manages to get him out of the car, although she does still have to close the door behind him. Dougie is fascinated by the statue of a cowboy in the large plaza in front of the building. Mimicking the cowboy gun with the finger of his left hand, Dougie subsequently walks in the direction where the cowboy is pointing. This is something that I didn't notice until my second viewing here. And it was something that I was pointed out to me by Reddit when I was going through that in some of my research. Uh, the red balloon symbology. Every time you can see the gun on the cowboy statue,
Okay.
there is a red balloon near it.
Oh, interesting.
Uh, Most of the jackpots that Dougie hits have red balloons as a feature.
Interesting.
There are red balloons over Janie E when she finds the money in the baggie and forgives Dougie and gets all happy.
Hmm.
So I think, and I can't confirm this at like every sighting because I'm sure it doesn't happen in every instance, but I think like red balloons are symbols of these forces that are pointing Dougie in the right direction.
Okay.
Kind of supplementing the theory I threw out there earlier.
Okay.
I mean, I read a lot of shit that like dives deep into all kinds of visual symbology and deep studies of art and what was it called? The Hopf map or something like that, which is like a three-dimensional Fibonacci sequence. I don't know. There's a lot of,
But what if it means
and maybe
nothing
this is
and it's
all,
just they're just fucking with you?
isn't that
Sure. I'm just
part
saying.
of what art should
I'm
be?
just trying to be the devil's advocate here.
I'll have to further some of my research on that whole.
I
There
didn't
might
catch.
be a whole other episode
I didn't catch any of
on
that.
that, but
None of the red balloons. Like none of that went off in my head. So that went over.
yeah, and again, it didn't for me on the first viewing. It wasn't until like I read somebody else's recap, and then when I went back on this second viewing, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, there's a balloon there. There's a balloon there. So yeah, things that are there's a red balloon behind the drugged out woman. who said 119 over and over again when they were planning the bomb on Dougie's car.
Oh wow, was there?
Yeah.
Hmm. Weird.
So like there's connections if you know where to look for them.
But what is the connection? Aside from the fact
They're
that there's
all
red balloons in all these
they're
scenes.
all agents of the lodge
Okay, no,
somehow.
you
Agents
don't
or
know that for a fact. So you
I
know that
don't. No. It's a
there's a
theory.
connection with red balloons, but there's no
Yeah.
red balloon connecting it to actually the lodge. Like
It's just the color red.
there would need to be a red balloon in the lodge.
There's the red drapes. That's the only real connection you can make.
I
It's
suppose.
the color red. So, like I said, it's a theory. There's no right or wrong answer. This is all conjecture because nobody ever offers you any concrete explanation for
Then I
any
have
of the metaphysical stuff.
then I have a comment. So it's interesting when the car is the first car comes by, the Camaro, the old school
The hitmen,
the hitman
Gene and
in the
Jake.
car, and the kind of the red copper, and they pull by and they slow down, and then they drive off, and then the other guys show up. Still an old hot rod, but it's been contemporized by the youth, but still
Mhm.
the same, not the same car, but the same era of car, which
Was a
again I
Let me
think
know
is
which car
still,
it was. It was a Pontiac,
it's
right?
like a
Did
black
I see the
Pontiac or something, but it's like an old car, but it's been updated, but it's not a newer model. It's an older model that's been
right? No, it's a customized,
right.
heavily customized.
And this I think is again, this is a lot where I see Lynch commenting on society, where he thinks that the world ended at a certain point. That's why I think Jeannie L. What is her name?
Janie E,
Jeannie
Dougie's
E.
wife.
She's driving an old Cherokee wood, and it's kind of cool. It's all like nice and cool looking. And
And
then
it's
you look at,
pristine
and
too.
it's
Like the
pristine,
interior is
right? And then you look
top
at
notch.
Dougie's car.
Yeah.
It's just like this shitty Ford Taurus. It's like
Mhm.
that's the only real one thing that I can say that like he's always commenting on how contemporary times is like this shitty time, like for a lot of it. Like he really likes to live in the past about a lot of shit, and like so like, but I still get the vibe that both those guys, regardless of what they are bad guys. So the things that he
Both of those sets of
romanticizes,
cars.
both of those sets of cars are kind of evil,
Hmm.
but he still is romanticizing both of them. So I don't know if that it's not really me saying anything
There's
to what the story is about, but it
yeah,
is what Lynch is into. So like when there's something that Lynch
yeah,
is
but
into, he's
there's
always more romanticizing a time period. Like we'll get at there's some more stuff that is about this kind of same topic that I can pull out later
mhm.
in the episode, but this is one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay, it's not like these kids are like in a new Corvette and they're still like evil. They're the
No,
same
there and
dudes.
there's
They're the same dudes but younger,
yeah,
basically.
and more like yeah, with a less respectful energy, I guess you could say.
Maybe.
Um,
I can't
but
say
yeah,
that. I don't
like
know.
I don't know, it kind of felt like it. I mean, based on the music that they were listening to,
Why you got to be so
which was kind
judgy?
of harsh. Well, I mean, it's a piggybacking along on your, it's not like the stuff that Lynch would throw out there for his
Right.
era. And I mean, I would say definitely that, romanticizing a criminal lifestyle is not something that is unique to Lynch's filmmaking by any
No,
means.
no, no,
That's
no.
something that dates back a long, long time in Hollywood history.
But he's
But it's
comparing
something that would have
to.
seeped into his psyche through that,
There's
through old
definitely,
Hollywood.
but he's like multiple generations are sharing the same thing. He's like comparing
Hmm.
two different generations that still romanticize the same thing. Like he's even older than all those groups. Like he dates further back, and then you have this kind of like
Right.
40-year-old group, and then you have this 20-year-old group. Like they're all the same group. It's just anyway. It's
Right.
not really like I'm trying to bring to light anything. I'm just like pulling that out. Is like that's what he's doing here. Like he's doing the thing that he likes to do
Yeah.
here.
He highlights those subtle differences between the generations. Where are we at? Dougie. Oh no, the cowboy. That's right.
Yep.
Dougie makes his way to the elevators and lingers aimlessly for a long moment before someone who recognizes him finally approaches. The guy is also carrying multiple coffees, which is actually what catches Dougie's attention. And he follows him around the corner to a different elevator.
Yay,
Dougie
coffee jokes.
hypnotically, yeah, Dougie hypnotically reaches for one of the coffees, but his bespectacled companion has to turn him down, saying he didn't get one for him. This doesn't stop Dougie's reaching, and Glasses quickly acquiesces, giving him Frank's coffee and saying that maybe Frank will instead like one of the extra green teas he picked up. Uh, Dougie greedily chugs his coffee, making happy grunts and drawing weird looks from the woman sharing the elevator with them. Dougie's coworker, whose name is Phil, and I had to go back and correct it in every one of these because so the actor's name is Josh, and he looks like a
He
Josh.
does.
Like I can't describe it any better than that. Dude straight up looks like a Josh, so I kept referring to him as Josh in all of my notes. And the character's name is Phil. So
Fill it up.
anyway, Phil is kind enough to gently guide him through the office as Dougie pulls his immobility act in the waiting room of what is their insurance agency.
Yeah, that was like a surprise that that's what he worked as.
Dougie's in insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, sleazy car salesman does seem to fit the wardrobe better, doesn't it?
Well, even if he was an
Considering how
insurance,
normal everybody else around him is dressed too. Like,
even if he was an insurance salesman at somewhere else, but like in a high rise with all these like other, it's like, what are we?
yeah,
And
it's almost
again,
like more puzzling to how Dougie is making it through this world now is how did he make it through this world then?
well, this is like another commentary I think on like society. Like I think Lynch is making a commentary on like business and people, and he wants to put this plant. Like, why would he be in here? Like, why is this guy here? Like, why are we like? Because
Yeah, because as we
everyone is
established,
so basically gray,
Dougie was a
black,
manufactured
gray.
person.
You know, like you know what?
Mhm.
Agent Cooper would fit better in this building than Dougie. You know, really, ultimately, like if he was dressed up in his suit and shit, he would fit better in this building than Dougie. Like Dougie is such a like, I don't. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
this doesn't seem like the place Dougie would be. Entering a boardroom for the morning meeting, Dougie is approached aggressively from behind by another coworker. This is Anthony Sinclair, played by longtime Hollywood vet Tom Sizemore.
Rest in peace,
Uh,
bro.
yeah, rest in peace.
You know, he's not even though he's not the pinnacle human being, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd put him a few knobs down from Gary Busey, I guess. Most of our audience probably remembers him from Saving Private Ryan. He left an indelible mark on me as Detective Jack Scagnati in Natural Born Killers. He makes some playful jabs about Dougie's stay in Bendersville and his new haircut before turning serious and whispering in Dougie's ear about how he owes him big time for covering for him. Dougie's lack of responsiveness seems to disarm Sinclair somewhat, and he eventually leaves him alone. You know, when bullies don't get a reaction, bullies stop bullying. Meanwhile, at the table, a married man named Darren is making a pass at a disinterested female coworker. As Dougie takes a seat, Frank notices that Phil has given him his coffee and instantly gives him grief for it. Frank reluctantly accepts the green tea latte as a substitute, but as it turns out, he really does like it. Lucky for Dougie. It's the magic of the lodge.
sure.
Yeah, the giant
If
turns
that's
on a
if,
switch
if
in Frank's brain
okay,
to make him like green tea,
all right.
so Dougie can have
I
his
guess Gabe
coffee
has some
and
kind of
slowly remember that he's Cooper.
Gabe has some insider knowledge that like the
I
giant is
don't. It's
pulling
just
all the strings. Like I feel like this
it's
is
just my theory.
yeah, that's cool
I mean,
theory.
I do have some advanced knowledge.
So
I mean, a lot of
so
this,
the giant is controlling this guy to like green matcha.
you don't see anything directly to that. I mean, this is like,
I think it's just a joke. I think it's just more comedy by Lynch just to be like, oh yeah, I like it. And it's just
can't
like,
it be
oh my
both?
god,
It can be more than one thing.
it can be. Doesn't need to be.
Uh,
Doesn't have to be anything at all,
it can be many things to many people.
or nothing at all.
That's what art is. The big boss man is making some final notes at a small table in the corner with his secretary before taking his seat at the head of the large boardroom table and starting the meeting.
Okay, that part also makes no sense. Like, it's such a
I've never
weird.
been in a corporate meeting, so I couldn't say if
All
that's
right,
something that
but
actually
I've been.
happens or not.
But to have a little table just off of the big table seems like so. I feel like that's something he would do in his office, and then he would come into like. It's just like this whole scene is
I'd say
staged really weird. Like I feel like this might be second unit. I don't even know. Like it just seems
availability of sets or something like that.
no, just like here we got to go shoot this. Can you guys go do this? Like it just is shot really weird. I don't. And then anyway, I was very. This was like bizarre to me. Anyway.
Uh, Hypothesis. Maybe he's just arriving to the office and the first thing hasn't even been to his own office yet.
Sure, we can make
And so he
excuses.
just catches up with the secretary briefly before the meeting.
Why not
Maybe
just
it's
do
the
it at the
routine he
main?
likes.
Why not just do it at the main table? Like, why do we like? We literally have a small table over by a bookshelf. It seems so.
Maybe he doesn't want people to overhear.
Uh, they weren't
I'm
talking.
playing devil's advocate.
I know you are, but it's anyway. It's fine. I just like what? Okay, sure.
Boss man asks Dougie to take his seat, telling him to cut the shit when Dougie provides no response. Phil assumes the role of Dougie's work caretaker and gently guides him to his chair. The boss then asks Tony to lead off the meeting, which he does by bringing up two claims that have been approved and need paying out. One is for a ruptured water main, and one for a fire that had originally been labeled as potential arson by the inspectors. Tony says that the fire has been proven as legitimate and the claim needs to be paid out. Dougie suddenly sees a green light dancing over Tony's face and says, with clarity and purpose, he's lying.
That was the giant
And
pressing the
then
green button light. He's like the giant upstairs was like press green button, and then that's why that happened, according to Gabe.
metaphysically, that's not too far off.
Can I explain my theory?
Sure.
My theory is that Cooper is a good soul. He's always been 100% good soul.
Okay.
He's being born back into the world as an infant, and he's lost his prior knowledge. And I'm sure at some point it's going to come back. But at 100%, he is this 100% good person. You know how you can be 100% good, and then at certain points through life and through experience, you slowly get worn down. You have to play the game, and to be good, there's rules to being good. You won't. And I think you're seeing his good, but it's infancy. So he has not. There, I think that shit. I almost wish that it wasn't. We didn't have this kind of like push the button. Like I wish he would just call it
The
out.
Deus
Like
Ex Machina shit.
yeah, I wish he would just do it. Like it would just happen, and it's just like just the purity of goodness and being able to know what is wrong and what is right with the world. Because like I know what the casino thing is like. What about the casino thing? Well, the casino is 100% out to get you all the time. What if you did know that like what was fucking you and what wasn't fucking you? Like that's what they're basically telling you. So I just I like the idea that you're seeing just 100% good, and I think that's what's happening here. Now, eventually, he's going to be re-enlightened to the fact that back to Cooper at some point. But like, that's really what's happening here. Like, he doesn't even care about paying off. A baby doesn't understand consequence. It just knows. It doesn't even know about belonging, or it doesn't know about this. It doesn't know direction. It learns by mimicking. That's what's happening here. It's literally that kind of thing. I don't think it has to be
Hmm.
so metaphysical. I mean, sure, you can read into that, and maybe this whole concept is metaphysical, but I just feel like this is a more honest, like, he just knows innately that this guy's a liar. Because he hasn't, you know,
He does. I mean,
because a
it
baby
does.
knows that it knows a mother is its mother, you know?
Anybody watching played L.A. Noir?
Well, I know, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you do have a point because like, uh, Tony gives some telltale signs
Mm-hmm.
when the boss man kind of presses him on. Oh, I thought it was arson. He kind of like shifts uncomfortably. He's like, oh, no, 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 it was prudence. So it does kind of come across as he's being.
But then when he's like confronted to like, and you're going to explain it in a minute, but like when he's confronted to like explain what he's saying, he doesn't really know how to explain it because he's not playing. He doesn't know the minutia of it. He just knows right and wrong at this point, for the most part. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of my working theory right here. I don't know how they're going to. Obviously, I'm sorry, Gabe, that I feel like I'm
No.
so conflicted with this thing right now, and I get aggressive about it. I do want to see it out. It's not like I don't want to do this with you. There is a very like, I do feel like there's a very like this episode is very lackadaisical in my opinion. I just feel like it's unnecessary. We could have done some of this stuff in the other episode and maybe in the future episode. It's just like why are we wasting my time? But I do think that there are some things that are going on that like I just wish it was told better. I guess that's where I'm. That's why I'm at. That's where I'm at. So.
You don't want to see an 18-hour film, is what you're telling me.
Well, you're telling me that like, but that's then saying like Sopranos. That's like a 6-season film, and I loved. I
No,
love.
Sopranos isn't edited like a film.
Yeah, it
Sopranos is
is.
edited like a television
No,
show.
it's edited like a film. There's a lot of that's
Like, as
there's a
from a
lot of this.
storytelling point
There's
of
a lot
view.
of this that is not edited like a film. There's a lot of this episode that is. There's a lot of this series that's not edited like. I mean, that's. I get the idea that ultimately that's what it is like a 18-hour film or whatever, but like there's a lot of series that are like, I mean, Andor is like that Star Wars. That's like a what? How many episodes? 9. So what is that? Like 9-hour film? That's a great film. That's edited great. Like it
It's
exists.
9 hours.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
not 18.
Yeah, well, this did. I'm starting to believe that this probably doesn't. Gabe, don't get me into this, man. This probably didn't need to be 18 hours.
I mean, remember that Showtime originally agreed with you and tried to talk him down to 9,
so
and then he refused
I
to play
mean,
ball, so they let him have
Mulholland
18.
Drive is like what 2.5 ish. Then he goes on to like kind of go quiet for a while, and then he makes Inland Empire. That's like this long film that like just
Over
no one,
3, yeah.
that no one really cares about, and it's just long and indulgent and like. And I think this is where you kind of get into this. Like, there's a lot of stuff here that doesn't need to be here. I mean, there's stuff in the other episodes that don't need to be there, but anyway, that's
There's stuff in the original series that didn't need to be there too, yeah.
sure. But at least, but at least, yeah. Anyway, sure.
But no, I mean, you make a good point here. Like, let's touch back on one of these things that they talked about in the original series when Leland died. Albert obviously having a hard time grasping the concept of evil spirits from beyond possessing people refers to Bob as a metaphysical concept of the evil that men do. And maybe, the other side of that coin is the giant, is the helpfulness and the good that men do. And, how he's guiding Cooper or what he represents, again, might be beings beyond our understanding that we can only see as the better, like our own good human nature.
I just feel like those entities, while maybe guidance, like you see anything, faith or whatever you want to, that's guidance. It shouldn't be thought as what is actually making you make those decisions. Is generally that should be seen as Coop making that decision. I hate to think that like Cooper exists like only to be a puppet for this thing or that thing. I like to think that sure, he was guided by the giant or he was guided by this person, but ultimately Cooper makes those decisions because of his own innate soul and the person that he is. So like when Cooper calls this guy a liar, I don't want to think that like it's because the giant hit a button and it's like, oh yeah, he's a liar. It's like, no, that's Cooper's innate good, innate inside intuition that he is wrong. And that's how Cooper's always been through the whole series, through the entire series. That's how Cooper's always been. But he's had to play it differently through the entire series. You know? Here, he's now been born again, basically, if you want to get religious about it. But he is still innately good. So he's just off. He's like right off the bat, he's always going to make the right choice because he is 100% pure good. So like that's why I like to see this. But at the same time, I wish we would have hit that sooner and not wasted our time in this episode because I just feel like this episode ultimately doesn't serve any purpose. And that's where I'm at. Okay.
I wouldn't say the whole episode doesn't serve any purpose. We meet a lot of new characters
Cameos,
this week.
I'm sure.
A lot of cameos, but again, like more of the second generation, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah,
If you were paying attention during the credits,
we couldn't have crammed
you'll
them
know
in
more of what I'm talking about.
We could have cut some stuff out and crammed them into those episodes. I think I could have edited. I think honestly, as an editor, I'm pretty sure I could get them in. I probably could have like undercut this series down quite a bit. Anyway,
I bet you could have. I'm sure you could have.
And it would have been better.
Maybe you'll get an opportunity someday.
Doubtful.
After the meeting, Dougie is dragged into the boss's office by Phil and another coworker. We learn that boss's name is Bushnell Mullins. Behind his desk, he has mounted a large framed poster of himself from his boxing days, prominently featuring his nickname, Battling Bud. Bud demands an explanation for Dougie's serious accusations against his best agent, and the magic word seems to trigger that little piece of Cooper that's floating somewhere in Dougie's fractured psyche. Bushnell, flummoxed by Dougie's lackadaisical attitude, holy shit, I put some tough words in that sentence.
Lackadaisical.
Hands Dougie a stack of case files to work on at home, making up for the time that he missed. Case files.
Case files? Agent?
It's all stuff he recognizes. Okay, now I will admit this one pisses me off. This whole Dougie has forgotten how to fucking pee thing.
Oh like my God.
This is too much for me.
This is all the callback to the girl who was hit on, and then even this is shot poorly, and I'm just like, what is this? Yeah. And then she's just getting off on the fat, and then she's trying. Yeah, I don't understand. This
I guess the only justification I can try and make for this is that it just further demonstrates that Dougie has this aura of good around him that compels the people near him to help him when he needs it.
Maybe, but also that he's still an infant. Like he hasn't learned. Like he's still like
yes, he is.
And then he's being mothered here, but then he's also but then she's also trying to hit on him, and then but he has no idea. It's weird. It's weird. It's a weird, very weird.
It's a weird scene. I mean, I like that it means we get to look at the redhead again.
But also, what does it get us, ultimately? It actually gets us nothing. Like, this whole scene could be jettisoned and serves, like, this is where Ian would have just cut this. Like, this is one of those.
I can't argue with you there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. couldn't argue in that regard. Now, the next scene, however, really does serve a purpose. In the control room at the Silver Mustang Casino, pit boss Warwick alerts supervisor Burns, those are our friends from last week, that the owners are on their way up. Burns, pale and sweaty, contemplates his fate as he watches videos of Dougie hitting the jackpots over and over. And now we meet the owners. Enter the Mitchum brothers. Rodney and Bradley, played respectively by 40-year acting vet Robert Nepper and the one and only Jim Belushi. Nepper, I'm going to guess Ian probably remembers from Homeland, because I know you're a big fan of that show.
I like Homeland.
I
don't recognize the other guy.
You mean you don't recognize
I kid.
Oh. I didn't recognize Nepper from anything in particular, but I'm sure I've seen tons of his stuff. His credits date all the way back to the 80s. One thing I did note is that he made an appearance in the very first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I mean, I'd have to see that to because he's probably looks so much different then,
Yeah, I would guess.
unless he plays a Klingon or
Frequently,
some shit.
I'm really not sure. He is frequently, but not always, cast as a military or villainous type.
Right.
Yeah, typecasting. Some character actors just kind of have to live with that if they want to
Can we just make
afford a
can we
place in
take
California.
can we take a little moment for a second? So like yes,
Sure.
last like so the funny that Belushi's in this. So
Yeah.
yesterday, last night, I was watching a bunch of YouTube stuff, and I came across this whole. I didn't know Belushi and Aykroyd and all these guys had a weed fucking company.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh
So I
yeah.
watched this fucking video where like Dan Aykroyd and Belushi are driving in to go to visit the people at Nectar in Oregon because
Hmm.
they had a
Yeah.
growing. Anyway, so like, so just this is kind of this. I don't know. This might be that part of that weird shit that like the Giants pushing buttons and shit in my brain, Gabe. Because I watched this fucking thing and I see Belushi and stuff, and then like I'm sitting there and I'm literally watching this. It's like fucking Belushi. What the fuck? I just saw you last night. What a fucking weird.
So here's a
You know what
weird
I'm saying? That's just
coincidence I
some weird
had.
coincidence
Yeah,
bullshit. That
I had a weird coincidence watching the series the first time through. In between a couple of episodes, I went on a brief work trip to LA. And so it was last week's episode where Dougie's at breakfast and Take Five is playing in the background,
okay.
the Dave Brubeck song. Um, so while I'm in LA, I get onto the Hollywood Walk of Fame at one point, like while I'm on a day off out there, and just like a block of it, like outside the subway station. And I walk about a block and a half, and I'm just kind of looking down the stars. I don't recognize many of them. The first one I do see that I recognize is Dave Brubeck.
I don't know,
So
man. It's
I don't know. Yeah.
it's weird because like it's like a glitch in the matrix because it's like I don't smoke weed, so I don't really check out weed stuff. And I know we do this Lynch podcast, but I don't search Lynch stuff on my YouTube feed. It's usually like F1 cars, chicken wings, and bikini models. I don't know. It's like it's just like or video games. It's not so like the fact that like Aykroyd and Belushi came across in a weed thing on my YouTube feed is completely random to me. And then
Yeah. That
that
seems
was
pretty strange.
literally last night, and watching them talk and have a good time. I was like, oh, this is funny. They're kind, I miss
Isn't the farm
Belushi.
in Oregon?
Why is he in? I don't know. I didn't really dive
I
that deep
remember
into it.
reading an article about
It
Belushi. I'm
might
pretty sure
be.
the
It
farm is
might.
in Oregon.
I think it might be. But anyway,
I mean, if they're distributing the nectar, they would have to be.
and then to
I don't think
like,
they can take it across state
oh,
lines.
that makes a good point. And then to like when this like he shows up, it's like, oh my god, how fucking weird is that? Like when you start seeing things like that is like the glitch in the matrix. It's like this is Belushi. Bye. Anyway, it's weird to me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Some people believe in coincidences, and some people believe there's no such thing.
I
So I'm
believe in
still not sure where I land on
I
that.
believe in coincidences sometimes. Like I believe in it. I'm probably gonna see him again somewhere. I 100% bet like in the next day or two I'll see another Belushi. But and I get it here, and it makes a fun story for this thing. But yeah, it's like it's nice to see him working. I don't know. I miss him. He used to be so prevalent, but he's been kind of. I guess he's smoking that weed.
Yeah, hey man. Some people get burned out on Hollywood, and Belushi spent pretty much his whole life there. So
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
I don't blame him for looking for other avenues.
I also like the fact
Um,
that him and Aykroyd are still good friends.
oh
Like
yeah,
really close.
I mean they have been
Yeah.
for their whole lives. Again, when I worked for CD Baby, we used to sell an album that they made with their their big blues band.
Blues, yeah.
Yeah, have love, will travel. So yeah, self-produced, but it was good. I mean, they had a solid set of musicians around them, and they know what they're doing. So, but I'm with you. I mean, Belushi seems like a genuinely good guy, and I would like to see him more active and more stuff. But I'm honestly think this might be one of his last acting credits, or at least his most recent ones.
Yeah, probably.
I hate to say last. I don't want to make it sound final,
I mean, he's
like
still
he'll never
alive,
come
and
back.
he's
But
he looks good in the fucking weed shit I saw.
hell yeah, dude. A lot of people who smoke weed often look good.
Oh my god.
I do want to add a quick fun fact here in that Paul Giamatti recently revealed in an interview that he was up for the role of one of the Mitchum brothers.
Oh
He did not
man.
specify which one.
Oh my god.
So
That was
I
a
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you would have seen Giamatti in place of Robert Nepper or if you would have seen him in place of Jim Belushi.
Nepper, because I
I
like they
kind
look
of, yeah,
like
that's
Belushi
kind of
and
what I
they
lean
look
toward.
they look similar. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I kind of lean toward that, but I could also see it going the other way around. I think
I
Nepper
would
and
say
Giamatti look a little bit similar.
I'm gonna say that like Giamatti is so like wanted though. I would say it was like a like at some point it was probably like a scheduling conflict maybe.
It
Like
was
he
a scheduling conflict. He did say that.
because like
But
anyway.
yeah, but to me, like Nepper seems more like he seems more like the classic Vegas gangster, Like he seems like a guy you'd see in a Scorsese film, like in Casino or something like that. So he really feels more like the part of like an organized crime mogul. Like if you'd have had Giamatti and Belushi together, that would have felt like, a lot more
Giamatti
bumbling.
could have pulled it off, dude.
I, I've
I've
seen,
seen some movies where he just straight up like a shark. And I've
yeah,
seen him where he's bumbling. Like
got range.
he can
He's got
go.
range.
He can do it.
Fair enough.
He's
All
a
right.
fucking great actor, dude. That dude's
We'll give him. Oh yeah, no disagreement. I love Paul Giamatti and all of
Belushi
his work.
probably can only do what he did, kind of look muscly and kind of, but like Giamatti could like he could make you believe that he's the fairy godmother in that
And
scene,
he's got
and
like
then
the
also
the
kill you.
Pesci psychopath.
Yeah, he could like just
Yeah,
go at it. Like
yeah, I agree. That's fair. Rodney conducts his firing of Supervisor Burns in brutal fashion, violently assaulting him while the three showgirls that accompanied the brothers, dressed in identical pink outfits, lean disinterestedly against the wall. As security drags Burns out of the office, Bradley leans into his face and menacingly tells him to leave town and never come back. He then offers Warwick an on the spot promotion on the promise that he will alert the brothers immediately if he ever sees Dougie Jones step foot on their property again. In the squatter's den across the street from where Dougie's car is parked, the drug out mother has checked a nod on her little card table.
oh,
So her boards.
there was one comment I wanted to say about
Yeah.
the other scene, the gangster gambling scene.
Mhm.
I personally I feel like $425,000 for a casino in Vegas is kind of minute, especially in 2016. I feel like
It might be a
doesn't
lot
it
to lose in the slots
maybe,
in
but
one day,
I guess I just feel like I don't know. I
but
feel
also the concept of one person hitting 30
sure,
jackpots with no like
sure,
insider help.
100%. I just don't feel like
Like that's something that
let's make
Rodney
it
mentions.
really
You're like, you want me to believe you weren't in on this?
let's make it really hurtful. I don't know. I just feel
Yeah.
like that seems like a kind of like we've already made that back. Kind of like he might
I
have hit
mean,
all that.
maybe.
I don't know. I just feel like casinos in Vegas make so much money that like I feel like 400. I mean, that's not even a fucking LaFerrari, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
You,
know.
you could be right, It does feel like a drop in the bucket for such a large industry.
Anyway,
I mean, like if this were like one of the casinos in Buckhorn, South Dakota,
Sure. Oh, 100%.
maybe that
Sure.
would be a little more believable. Yeah. But for a Vegas-based casino, this seems like a hit they could weather without too much grief.
It's fine. It was just like a little off comment
But
I
hey,
had
yeah,
that I
I mean, we're
remembered that I
talking out
just
of our
remembered.
ass here. We've never run a
Yeah.
casino. Who knows?
100%. 100%.
So yeah, the drugged out mother has nodded off, so her bored son decides to head outside and see what's going on. He heads across the street to check out Dougie's car, carefully looking both ways before crossing. So he's not entirely a dumb kid, but he doesn't have much of a concept of what a car bomb might look like.
I mean, I don't really
Because he
know what a
reaches
car
out to
bomb.
fiddle.
I don't know what it would look like either, Gabe.
I know, but if you saw a shady looking guy plant something on a car's gas tank and then look around and run away, you might think twice before reaching out and touching it, right?
I was kind of hoping that there would have been a bigger story here, though. Like he actually takes it, and then some like uses it for another car, and then it kills the bad guy.
No,
And some
yeah, he
other,
seems to just here to be a
yeah,
proxy.
it doesn't. It seems kind of pointless, but whatever.
Yeah. As the boy reaches out to fiddle with the device that Gene planted on Dougie's car, the black muscle car suddenly squeals to a stop in front of the driveway. Five men get out, one of them rudely chasing the boy away by throwing a rock at him. Three of them head over to Dougie's car to break in and steal it. As one of them gets in the driver's seat and gets the ignition going, the car immediately detonates, killing three instantly. Luckily, the boy remains unharmed, although he seemed to be standing pretty damn close.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, an explosion of that size would have at least knocked his ass down.
Right. 100%.
So suspend a little more disbelief here. But I've also learned recently that the single phone call in prison is also a Hollywood trope. So whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Let's not get into
The
that.
two remaining hoodlums hop. Did I correctly identify this car as a Trans Am, or am I off?
That car, I don't think is a Trans Am.
Okay.
The black. Oh no.
The Pontiac.
Oh, the. Are we still talking about the explosion in their car?
The black car, yeah.
I'm not. I don't think that's a Trans Am. I think that's like a. I want to say it's like a GTO or something, like in a Plymouth. I don't think it's a Trans Am. The other car the boyfriend has that comes later, that's a Trans Am, the Firebird Trans Am.
Firebird, yeah.
But this black one is like a Dodge. I think it's like a Challenger.
Oh, it's not a Pontiac. I thought I saw a Pontiac.
It's like
logo
somewhere
on the
in
front of
there. It might be a I don't know. It's not. Yeah, it's not a Trans Am though.
Did Pontiac make a model that has that kind of body shape to it?
No, I don't think so.
Nah.
Like the other one's a Chevelle. The black one I feel like is a Dodge, and then I think the one that comes at the outside the cafe,
the Firebird, yeah,
is a Firebird. Like that's a Pontiac Trans Am. Anyway.
All right. Anyway, enough car talk. The two remaining hoodlums hop back in their car and peel out while neighbors down the street look on. And the boy runs back into his house, briefly awakening his mother and cueing a random burst of dramatic orchestral music as he watches the car burn from the window. That seemed like an odd choice to me.
At first, I also thought what was funny is like the car blew up and you cut back to it and there's like no bodies. And I'm like,
no, there were a couple.
No, there are later. It does zoom out later, and he's like, "Oh, there are a couple bodies there." But I feel like the one that was in the passenger seat would still be there. I would have left like a burning skeleton like guy in the seat. But it's fine. Yeah. It's fine that they blew it out, and like you see it later off to the side. But it's like initially, I was like, "Where's the dude inside the car?" Because it blows up, not out. Like it's supposed to go, like I don't know. I feel like. The two next to it would have gone.
On that was strange.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The first time I watched it through, I thought there were only three guys in the car, and I'm like, how did those two guys get so far away from the explosion?
No, there's like a bunch of them.
I noticed the other two when I watched it again.
But I definitely thought that the one inside the car should have probably stayed in the car, and I think that would have been a fun
body,
like a fun burning skeleton. But they didn't go that direction. I just feel like that would have helped it a bit, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. Elsewhere in Vegas, a familiar yellow Jeep is receiving a detailing job at a car wash.
We saw her
As the
again.
attendant,
I didn't think we were gonna
we
see
did,
her
yeah.
again.
I didn't think so either. I wasn't sure. So I mean, it's again scenes like this. They're easy to forget. As the attendant finishes up, he calls Jade over. Hey, Jade,
Can I
looking
get a
good,
ride?
or two. And he hands her an item he found while cleaning up the Jeep. A hotel key for room 315 of the Great
Mm.
Northern Hotel in Twin Peaks, Washington.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thankfully, the keychain has a return address printed on it, so Jade drops it in a mailbox, which is conveniently located about 10 feet away. That's because the giant put it there.
Oh my god. So here's something interesting. So I feel like if you watch this scene when he's talking to her and then he
Mhm.
gives her the key, it looks from the side that she's saying something again. Like she has a whole other line. There's like some other lines that, but they cut to the
Uh,
key. And I'm just curious what those other dialogue, or if it was the same dialogue. Hold on a second. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but there is a little sloppy edit there because you can tell that she's talking, but there's nothing being said. So I just anyway,
yeah,
I'll throw that
talking
out.
during the take. Yeah, it happens. Well, let's get back to what this show is really about nostalgia. Let's make our first visit back to the Double R Diner. It has not changed much over the last 25 years. Norma, still gorgeous, is seated at one of the booths in the back doing the books. And Shelley, also still gorgeous, is working the counter wearing that same aquamarine uniform and packing up some to go orders for delivery in those familiar pink boxes. A beautiful young woman played by Amanda Seyfried. I'm not sure how that one goes. Most of y'all remember her from Mean Girls. Enters the front door and smiles at Norma as she catches her eye.
Red Riding Hood, I believe she was in. She's in a lot of things, but anyway.
She wasn't a lot of things. Yeah. Norma returns the young woman's smile and alerts her cook that the bread delivery has arrived. The cook greets the young woman with a warm, "Hey, Becky," and takes the bread off her hands. From Norma's point of view, we can see Becky head to the front counter to speak with Shelley. They are speaking in hushed tones, and Becky seems somewhat distressed and apologetic. Shelley eventually pulls some cash out of her pocket, then opens up her purse to pull out even more cash as Norma watches with a disapproving look on her face. As Becky clasps Shelley's hand tightly, we can clearly hear her say, "I love you," a sentiment that Shelley returns to the young woman, who we can obviously surmise is Shelley's daughter.
What?
What?
Shelly and Bobby's daughter? Who's
What can
who's
happen in 25 years?
who's child? Shelly? Who did
I
your
promise
daddy?
we will find out.
Oh, I hope. Okay, cool.
Norman joins Shelley at the counter as they watch Becky exit, getting into a Trans Am convertible driven by none other than Steven, the douchebag who Mike dressed down during his application earlier. Norma remarks that this is the third time in 2 weeks that Becky has asked for money. Shelley has little defense and can only stare on helplessly while Norma tries to comfort her. In the car, Stephen the scumbag swears that he'll pay Becky's mom back as they count the paltry amount of cash that Shelley was able to give them.
$72, I believe.
$72. Realizing that they're being watched, Stephen pulls out of the Double R parking lot and just backs into a lot near the
Right. I
train
was like,
tracks about a half a block away.
what? Oh, okay. All right. I'm just gonna back out and
Well,
then
they can't go
kiss.
anywhere until they've had their bump, dude.
Yeah, clearly.
Gotta do a rail.
Hollywood, fat
Kiss,
Hollywood.
kiss me, Stephen demands of Becky, and she begrudgingly complies, obviously not happy with her husband.
I like how they're both like they do drugs, but he looks like he is just a fucking addict, and he's got like sores and like he's disheveled, and she's like still put together and fine. She's
Hmm.
just, it's like, and clearly kissing him just seems like the best. Like, I would be so attracted to that.
She's not doing it because she's attracted to him.
I
She's
know.
doing it to shut him up. You can tell.
Ugh, it's just gross. It's disgusting.
It is gross. I mean, he just oozes unlikability in every scene he's in.
And you have
It's
a
just, and
pink
it's,
Trans Am, bro. It's pink.
was it
It's
pink?
like a shade. It's like a tinted pink, like a white pinkish. It's like light. It's like it's a gross
It
color.
just kind of looked cream colored to me.
Yeah, it looks pink to me.
I mean, the decal might have, yeah.
The pink and then the red, the red velvet seats. It's just like,
Yeah. Feels like something he got from his grandpa's inheritance or something. You'll notice it's not anywhere near as well taken care
well,
of as Janie
if
E's
Bobby is,
vintage Jeep.
oh wait, no, Bobby's her dad. Never mind. Okay, go ahead. Is Steven related to anyone we know in Twin Peaks?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
They do give his last name in the credits, and it's not one I recognize.
oh
So,
right.
anyway, but like Stephen and Becky have the same last name in the credits. That's how we know. That's the only way then we know that they're actually married. Ugh. As Stephen brings out some cocaine to share with her, Becky expresses her shock that there's so little of it left. Stephen claims that he needs it to cover his nervousness during his interviews. Still, she doesn't turn down the bump that he offers her despite her disappointment in him. He continues to spout bullshit sweet nothings at Becky, and they seem to be finally working on her as the ecstasy of the drug takes over. As the car pulls away, we end the scene on a lingering close up of Becky, staring up at the sky with a look of euphoria as the wind whips her hair around her face.
So my most disappointing thing about this is that Shelley seemed like she had kind of the world by the balls. Like she seems like a smart girl. Why is she still working there? Like what happened to her that she just said, "Nah, fuck it. I'm just gonna stay here for the rest of my life." Like I feel like just I guess this
My
is
guess
like
would be Becky,
no. I think my guess would be well, maybe that's a good point.
because Becky
But I
is
feel like
obviously in her early to mid 20s, so
I feel
she can't have come around too much longer after we
I just
left.
feel like this is Frost and Lynch just not giving a shit about female characters. They can't be empowered. So
Mm, eh.
give me an empowered
They
Lynch character in this show. Gabe, go.
an empowered female character?
Yeah.
Tammy.
Who?
Tammy.
Tammy who?
Agent Preston.
Oh my god, no.
Norma.
I mean, no. What? After this
Oh,
episode? Norma, no,
Norma.
she's still just there, just doing the thing. She's not how is she
She
empowered?
owns her own restaurant,
Oh my
owns and
god.
operates her own business. That's an empowered
That's
woman.
versus all these. Okay, Gabe. I don't. Oh, sure. Okay. Yes. I mean, technically, you are correct. But she hasn't sold it and moved on and like sailed the world in a yacht or anything. She's still just doing that. And
This
Shelly's
is all you know so far.
okay. You're right. Is it gonna change? She's like a secret agent and she has millions. And I don't know. I just feel like Shelly could have been more than.
Well, not about Shelley, but about Norma. But
I know, but I just feel like
yes, it's disappointing to see her in this position.
is Audrey
That
still
happens
just
in
some
real
like
life.
sad bitch who
Oh
like
shit, dude.
you don't even get me started. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like anyway,
Audrey's plotline, I will have to say, is probably one of the most controversial ones
but this
of the
is not
series.
this is not giving me hope.
No, I don't think you're going to like it.
I know, but I'm just saying like I mean Shelly was a cool, she had some shit. She did some fucking wrong shit, but I felt like she was of all the characters that I thought that were actually going to leave Twin Peaks, I thought Shelley would leave. Like if you look at like Audrey wanted to stay around her dad and like do the thing, and
Mhm.
what's the other one? Uh,
Donna.
Donna. Donna just seemed like she'd be the type of person that would just stick. Like it would be funny if Donna was still working at. I mean, I know, but I mean, it would just be funny if like that was kind of how that played out. Shelley seemed like she got fucked up with the shit that was going on. It's like fuck it, I'm out of here. And yeah, she could still get knocked up and then come back or something. But like, it just seemed like she'd be more worldly than.
It's yeah. I mean, it's sad, dude. There are lots of
And
people
I
who
just think
had great
Lynch and Frost
potential that ultimately had it squandered.
ultimately
You
Lynch and
know,
Frost don't care about women. Like, look at the women, the new women we have been really. I mean, you're right. Tammy
I
is
think
kind of
that's an unfair blanket
is an
statement.
agent, but she's not an agent with a lot of agency. And you look at Naomi Watts' character; she's just a mom. We had a
She's a
whore.
mom
We
who's
had a
running
prost.
the entire household by herself.
That's most moms.
It is.
And then you had a prostitute. You had a couple other whores that got murdered, and one that just anyway. I just feel like, man, can we get a strong fucking woman? Like a really fucking can she rise up through the ranks and be awesome? No, I guess we can't do that. And it's 2016, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I guess if you don't care about equality, you're all about that Trump America, Gabe. I got it. I feel you. No, just kidding. But I just feel like, can we have one that's really like figured it out? Why can't he romanticize that a little bit? Like, why doesn't he care about that? I don't know. That's what I'm kind of worried about. That does and you know what? I'm gonna ask you this, but you're gonna just be like, not really. Is there one?
Is
No. Okay.
I don't
You don't have to.
know
You don't have
what
to.
standard you're holding up here. Like what is it that exactly that you have to see to
There's
be
Gordon is
satisfied?
empowered. Albert is empowered. Tammy, yeah, she's an agent, but she's not really empowered. Cooper
Okay.
obviously is playing a
You'll get
dominant characters. I'm not talking about dominant characters that they're not going to be offed in like the next episode. Like they're going to like introduce a female character that has something to stay and has weight and has something to to fight for through the series. Is that going to happen?
yes.
Okay, I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
You'll probably think no,
no.
but
Okay. All right.
again, I'm not sure exactly what your standard is here,
My standard is
but
above the bar of what we've gotten currently out of the current Twin Peaks
I
female cast.
I applaud your idealism. But as we established during his conversation with Denise, Lynch is old school.
See, exactly. Even there. Yeah. That's what I'm. See, that's what my concern is. Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine. I want to know my place. Just put me in my place, Gabe. Just put me in my place.
I'm not putting you in your place. I'm just
Fold
saying
me up and put me in the
don't
fridge.
get your hopes
Put
up.
me in the fridge with the rest of the women. It's cool.
I think you ask for too much sometimes, Ian.
I ask not enough of the world.
Back at the insurance agency, everyone is headed home for the day. Dougie, being Dougie, is facing the wrong way in the elevator and blocking everyone's exit, much to their annoyance. Thankfully, Phil is there to help steer Dougie out and guide him outside, where he once again finds himself enraptured by the statue of the cowboy with the gun. Time passes, and the crowd in the plaza thins, but Dougie remains, leaning in ever closer and examining the cowboy's legs and shoes before returning his gaze to his face.
His wife forgot about him.
Guess so. Back now to the Twin Peaks Sheriff Station, where Andy and Hawk continue to quietly go over old files. Silence is finally broken when Andy asks Hawk if he's found any Indians, because he can't find any. Hawk responds, "No, Andy." And that's the end of that scene. I can't defend it. Completely unnecessary. But if you like watching Andy and Hawk hang out together, I guess the only service it has is fan service.
I mean, yeah.
Well, let's revisit
It's a
Dr.
cool
Jacoby.
it's a cool looking shot. I mean, it kind of does this slow pan
Hmm.
over
And the
the
lighting
table.
is really warm. It
It's really
feels like a
good. It's
very
a
comfortable
really
room.
really great shot. Like it's a really nice
It's
shot.
really
It's kind of
quiet.
single
It just
take,
it feels like a slice of reality.
and then it's over.
And then it's
And
a
what was
little
that?
bit of normalcy,
And then we go to fucking
just a glimpse.
Mega in the basement, and
Oh, the other extreme, the other
I
extreme of
know, but
Maggie.
I'm just saying. It's initially what
Agam.
I thought. I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Oh yeah. No, this is wild, but it's kind of fun to watch him work here.
This is where we've gone with this guy.
It
Like
is. Yeah. And this,
he was the
speaking of wasted potential, didn't he have a wife and property in Hawaii?
I guess. I mean, I
And
thought he was like
and this is what he's doing now?
I mean, he had a full practice. Like what? Where did he hit rock
I mean, he
bottom?
definitely, well, he seemed like the type of pop quack psychiatrist that you would see a lot of in like the late 80s, early 90s, rather than someone who like was educated and respected in the field. But yeah, this
It's
seems
wild.
like a fall for
This
Dr.
is this
Jacoby.
is a commentary on society, also, though, kind of where we're at and where
Oh,
we're headed,
absolutely.
100%. But it's just
Hmm.
like it's kind of funny that they took the psychologist of all people. This is again, in my opinion, kind of what Lynch thinks about whole like psychology and all like shrinks and stuff. Like obviously, Jacoby was never really taken seriously in his show to begin with as like helping the mentally ill, in my opinion, because you have this kind of lunatic looking guy dealing with these
Hmm.
kids, and now he's even further pushed him even further away, which I think is not cool because like mental illness is a thing, and now you have this guy who seems mentally ill. It's just like, what are we saying here? This is kind of a dangerous
I
thing, a little
I
bit.
kind of think it's an act myself, but at
Jacoby
least
is an
partially.
act.
We'll see.
Oh, okay, you think Jacob? But no, but your opinion. Okay, I'm asking you. You think that Jacoby is acting here, not that
Yes.
Lynch. Okay, all right.
Yes. I
I
feel
think
like Jacoby is putting on a shtick to sell a product.
well, I get that too, but that's also that's also another dangerous thing. That's also part of a society. Like, also then discrediting psychiatry, or I still think it's kind of a
Maybe.
dangerous thing.
A
Like
little
to
bit.
like make a show about, especially when you think about the type of people that watch Twin Peaks as a whole, that like might have mental health issues or have sought help from mental health organizations. I just see like,
Hmm.
why is this something you're kind of
I don't
anyway,
know.
I have some
I
issues
don't.
with it.
I can see that. But I don't think Dr. Jacoby is like not in control of his faculties.
I
I mean,
know.
this is the same kind of rant that you would see an Alex Jones
Oh,
type.
right. I don't see, but then that seems even more dishonest because of what he's doing.
I mean, the message he's conveying isn't necessarily a bad one.
Selling.
But let me recap
Yeah.
the scene
Finish it.
and
Finish it. Yeah.
and then we'll discuss it a little more. Let's revisit Dr. Jacoby and find out what he gets up to in his trailer when night falls. Why, it's a webcast calling
Just like
himself
ours.
just like ours, ranting and just mumbling about, calling himself Dr. Amp. Jacoby puts on an energetic, rambling, and borderline insane rant about various far left talking points. I'm not going to try and recap the whole speech, but he does mention that the fucks are at it again. And he shows off something he calls a cosmic flashlight while ranting about the various diseases that we're being poisoned with.
It's a flashlight with wings, ladies and gentlemen. It has like little wings.
That's what makes it cosmic.
Yeah.
You got to have wings to fly through space
Yep.
and the cosmos.
Yep. Except for
At
Major
least a
Briggs,
couple-
who can just have a giant face and float through space.
Oh, it's his whole head, not
Just
just
his
his
head.
face.
Okay, you're right. It's his whole head.
Yeah.
No wings or anything.
At least a couple of Jacoby's loyal viewers are locals, as we see Jerry Horn watching with a laptop and a joint out in the wilderness. And an attentive Nadine Hurley is seated in front of her desktop monitor. After working himself into a frenzy, the good doctor calms down with a sip of huckleberry extract and cuts to a pre recorded commercial hawking his golden shovels, which he encourages viewers and listeners to purchase and use to, quote, shovel your way out of the shit. An act which he demonstrates quite literally in the commercial.
I love the Horn part, but Horn really seems like he is like gonna set fire to something. Like he seems like he seems like programmable, like the programmable person. Like, you talk to a certain person and like
Like he would have been a January 6th.
yeah, like I know it's like kind of more of a leftist radio show idea, but like he just seems like
Right.
this is like he's like lighting his fuse, because like Jerry just seems
Yeah.
like the way he's kind of acting about it is just like, oh boy.
Particularly while he's under the influence,
Right.
he may be a little more suggestible.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Jerry.
I
Yeah.
actually like this scene. It's fun. It's kind of crazy. It's out there. Are you done? Sorry, you're not done.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But like I said, I still do kind of feel like conflicted about how we're perceiving Dr. Jacoby now. I just feel like that's kind of a weird take. That's all.
It feels like a bit of a precipitous fall for him. And yeah, again, it's like the same sentiment with Shelley here is like, yeah, you're disappointed that you're not seeing them do better, but at the same time, he lives by himself in a pretty comfy trailer on top of a mountain. I
And
mean,
get
assuming
it. People can change. I'm not
Yeah.
doubting that. That's, I guess, I would.
it does kind of make you wonder about the path that led him here, though, doesn't it?
But none of our characters from Twin Peaks really succeeded. Like, none of them got out or did better so far. Like, I mean, I would say Bobby is probably the one who did the best. He went from like kind of low grade thug to, I don't know. I don't know if he's a deputy. He's not a deputy. But he's just a police officer of some sort. But like everyone else, either status quo or like went mental. I don't know, or did it's not. I mean, Twin Peaks
Yeah, we
isn't
haven't
doing
quite
so
touched
good.
on everybody yet.
Twin Peaks isn't doing so
Yeah,
hot.
I mean, it's got a weird energy about it,
I would think someone invested.
It affects everybody.
I would think someone invested in Amazon or something and made a bunch of millions of dollars and went off and did something. Created the Tesla or something. I would think that like something else happened, but like we're not thinking that far outside the box.
Not in the show, anyway. Maybe in some of the supplemental material, you might hear some stories that bring you comfort.
I've just been writing all this like fanfic about like supplemental material. Yeah.
Let's now go to the Pentagon of all places, and head to the desk of Colonel Davis, played by Ernie fucking Hudson.
Yep.
You seen the pictures of him, like age 78, looking like he's in his 40s and shit?
I mean, yes, I have.
Yeah.
But I also, I just recently saw the SNL thing where Cher performed live and like she's 78 and it's like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah,
what
but
she's that shit. Yeah, but even still,
that's not voodoo. That's a talented surgeon.
But even her body like is still like she's still working out and it's pretty wild. People, kids' blood.
I need to watch that SNL bit.
Kids and blood, baby.
Sounds like it was fun.
No, it's not the bit. It's like the concert. They do this whole
Oh yeah, like
yeah,
the whole thing.
Anyway,
it's all up on Peacock, right?
Children's blood is what they use, I believe. They just drink it, They just,
fetal grindings. Yep.
placenta mush.
What's your secret, Flanders? Is it goat placenta? Monkey sweat?
Cream of placenta, I believe.
God.
What is the guy? What is it? Nabisco? It's cream of wheat is the dude. Isn't it like a dude that's like a face on cream of wheat?
Yeah. It's like a chef or something.
Yeah, anyway. That's
kind of looks like Chef Boyardee. Or maybe a baker.
I don't know.
Maybe he's wearing a baker's hat. But yes, there's a face
He
on
should
that.
be a doctor, and it should be like cream of placenta. I don't know. It's like anyway. Nabisco, hit me up. I got you.
You
Just like
you
hit
got
me
your
up,
parody,
Nabisco.
man.
Nabisco, hit me up. Anyway,
It's that one is the fake commercial. Anyway, Colonel Davis, that's Ernie fucking Hudson, by the way,
yes.
is at his desk while an officer approaches to let him know that there's been a database hit on the fingerprints of Major Garland Briggs. The colonel is not terribly surprised by this news, as this appears to be the 16th time that Briggs's prints have turned up in the 25 years since he was declared dead. He asks where this report came from this time, and the officer replies that it was from a police department in Buckhorn, South Dakota. And suddenly there's some more threads converging here. The colonel appears to think it's a wild goose chase, but sends the officer along to investigate anyway, encouraging her to travel first class. He does say ominously that this time, if it's real, we have to tell the FBI.
Have to.
Have to. So what do you think? Is it real?
We aren't afraid of no ghosts, so
So yeah, it sounds like the headless John Doe that has been discovered in Ruth so and so's apartment
is Major
is
Briggs
the body of Major Garland Briggs.
because his head is out there floating in space.
His head is out there floating in space, and for some reason, Dougie's wedding ring is in his stomach.
That is weird.
Right?
That is weird.
That is very weird.
Is that how they birthed Dougie, the clone? I don't know.
You know?
Was Dougie actually a clone? That's still another thing. Like Dougie had to have existed.
I will say there is a little bit more explanation to that.
To Dougie.
Uh,
Well,
I can't really say
just
more.
Heard the news today. Anyway,
Yeah. They'll explore that a bit more. And let's just say that it's not just Dougie.
so what happened to the body of the woman then? Like it was her head on.
Yeah, we still don't know.
We don't know what happened to her body.
Nope, we sure don't.
Anyway. And how's Shaggy doing in jail? We haven't seen him in a while.
No, couple episodes since we last checked in on old Bill.
He should disappear. He should just vaporize in jail. It's anyway. There's a lot of things going on.
Anyway,
here. And it's been
there are.
There's this is all happening in a moment of a few hours. I mean, it was morning
For
last
about a half
episode.
day.
He was having breakfast last episode, and then we had a full day today though.
Yeah,
because it went from breakfast out of the
so the last
door,
2 episodes cover one full day.
One full day. So
at least in Dougie's life.
You're right.
Who's to say whether all of these storylines are following the same timeline?
Yeah, we got to think that Jacoby he's just broadcasting every night.
I will say that Twin Peaks managed to avoid that trope for the most part.
Actually, you know why why no one's listening to or watching us right now? Because they're listening to Jacoby. He's the same time. He's 8:00 Wednesday night.
No, it was 7:00. He went on the air.
Oh damn!
But yeah, I mean, he's selling a product. We got nothing to sell.
I mean, I could spray paint some gold shovels, Gabe.
Now to the latest show in the Roadhouse concert series. This is a band called Trouble. And if that guitar player in the middle looks a little familiar, well, he should. His name is Riley Lynch. That's David's son. A morose-looking young man is seated at a booth alone with a neat whiskey in front of him and a lit cigarette in his hand, despite the no smoking sign posted right at his table. A couple of girls seated at the next booth occasionally glance back shyly at him, and then an employee of the bar approaches the young man, asking him to put the cigarette out. He coldly replies, "Make me." Before things escalate any further, Deputy Chad steps in, telling the bartender that he'll handle it. Chad has a curious way of handling it, as the first thing he does is tell the kid to give him a smoke. The kid hands Chad a whole pack and tells him to keep it. Chad opens the pack to find it full of $100 bills. He
Yo.
winks and makes his exit. Fucking Chad, dude. As if the dude couldn't get any worse.
So this is kind of the other thing. Okay, also, ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting smoking, one of David Lynch's favorite pastimes. Also, he died from this.
He
Anyway,
did.
I just want to point that out. Anyway, this is one of those things from, the bad boy thing that Lynch likes generationally. Now in bars you can't smoke. You used to be able to smoke. Some bars you still can
Mhm.
smoke in. There's
Not in this state.
now,
Some
no, in
other
this
states.
state you can't. Well, not in your state. In Vancouver you cannot. But there are cities or counties in Washington where you can. We went and visited this place in Spokane called the Silver Fox, and we walked
Hmm.
in there, and it was just like, oh, it was just like, what the fuck? It was so intense. It was just like, because you hadn't been
Like
in a
the old
place.
days of the triple nickel.
Well, no,
Huh?
but back in then those days you didn't really notice it because you were used to it. When you haven't been to a place that has still does it, it is next level crazy. Like,
Also, when you haven't smoked in 10
well,
years.
yeah, well, I never smoked, but like just being in a place that smokes, you're kind of used to it. Anyway, all I'm saying is like Lynch likes to romanticize this bad habit. He's always romanticized this bad habit. He even when he was told not to smoke, he still kind of kept doing it until the very end, where I think he stopped finally. But
Again, I would argue it's not just him. I'd argue that old Hollywood as a whole romanticized this bad habit.
I mean, you know what's funny? And this is going to take us back to The Fall of Spring, a film I did with Gabe and my friend Justin. So one of the things that Justin had to do was smoke all the time in the car. And I just remember at the end of that shoot being like, I'm never going to make one of my actors ever smoke again. Because it not only did it suck for Justin, but it sucked for all of us in the car that had to work. Like, it just was an awful thing. Because, like,
Fucking not
have,
just your clothes, but like
yeah,
probably the cover on the microphone probably just reeked of
well,
smoke.
not
And
even that, but you hit cut, stop the smoking, relight the cigarette. It's intense. And that's why they have fake cigarettes, obviously. But even that is what it is. Like, I was like,
well, and then like having to edit a scene like that
oh,
where the
yeah.
cigarette is the same length
It's
in
just,
every cut,
it's
that
just,
can be fucking impossible.
it's just obnoxious.
Yeah.
But more so for the health, I was just like, fuck it. I'm never going to. That's more so my reason that I just. Anyway. But here,
Anyway.
obviously, there is a level of like romanticizing this youngster smoking, angsty, and then
Well,
you haven't finished the description yet. But then the girls are asking for a light, so they're kind of romanticizing
right, yeah.
it. So
So
there's definitely this romanticized idea of smoking,
of
and
the
then,
rebel,
I don't,
yeah.
and I don't know. I don't think Lynch wasn't sick yet in 2016, right? Like that didn't come till later, right?
I'm not sure when he was diagnosed.
Anyway. So
I mean,
I just thought,
emphysema is something that comes
yeah.
along early. So
Anyway, it was just kind of another one of the things, like it's a generational thing for sure. It's one of the things that he never let go. It's kind of a bad boy thing that he's always had. He's always done it.
hey,
We've always
any of
known
us
him. Yeah.
those of us who have started smoking, it was because it was romanticized to us at some point in our lives. I mean, nobody who grew up in the 80s grew up not knowing the dangers of smoking or the harm that it causes, or the long-term damage.
Well, I
But
didn't even smoke. I
but a
never
ton
got
of
in.
us,
No, I
no,
never
you
got
didn't,
in.
but
I
I
never.
did.
No. But what I'm
I
saying
did.
is, I still romanticized it. I still thought it was like a cool idea. I still thought it still like kind of
Oh, I
seemed
see.
cool.
Okay.
It still seemed like
Yeah.
this. Like I didn't have a thing against smoking per se for
Right.
the longest time. Like I don't want I don't want to be around it. I don't want my wife. One of the things like I always told anyone I was interested in dating is like you need to be able to drive a stick shift and you can't smoke. And like when I first met Bryn, she those are the things like dude, the first time we hung out, she was smoking at a bar with friends, and one of her friends coaxed me to come out to hang out with them, and she was terrified knowing that she knew she had been smoking, and she was terrified that she knew how I felt about it, that she gave a pack of cigarettes to her friends. She went to the bathroom. She was like brushing her teeth and all this stuff, and I was driving on the way out to the bar, so that when I showed up, it didn't look like she had been, and she never smoked ever again. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
she smokes weed. That's whatever. I mean, that whatever. But she stopped. She never smoked a cigarette again after that point. So it's like, I get that. So, but I don't want to be really around it. But I still romanticize the idea of it. It's a badass character. It's cool to do.
The imagery behind it, yeah.
It's awesome. It looks cool.
It's associated forever
right.
with like
But there is
not just rebelliousness, but righteous rebelliousness. Yeah.
But at this point in my life, it's like, this is it really? So like watching this scene, I was kind of like, okay, Lynch, I get what you're doing. Yep.
Yeah, like you go back and like, Ernie Hudson, you go back and watch Ghostbusters. Fucking everybody is smoking
Dude,
all the
not
time
even
in that
Ghostbusters.
movie.
In The Crow, he's smoking in The
Yeah.
Crow, and
Yep.
Brandon Lee grabs it from him, and he takes it and he smokes it, and he goes, "These things will kill you," and then he puts it
Yep.
out. And it's like, that's a great fucking
And then
scene.
he's like smoking
But
one after he's been shot.
It's so fucking cool, but it's
I'm
like,
quitting as of now.
I'm quitting. Right? It's like he coughs. I'm quitting. It's like it's like perfect. It's awesome. It's like, and that's it's romanticizing it while even trying to dismiss it. It's like trying to like, it's a weird thing. But here I felt like,
Let's move on because this is making me want a cigarette.
well, all I'm saying is like it just felt like very generational here, like because I feel like
It did.
I feel like kids don't really smoke anymore. Honestly,
No, it's way down. Yeah. That's fucking expensive habit these days.
that too. Like, you're gonna fill your tank. You're gonna buy
Jesus
a pack of
Christ.
cigarettes.
Yeah. You're gonna feed yourself for a week, or are you gonna buy a pack of cigarettes? I mean, a carton of cigarettes now is more expensive than a new PlayStation game. That's fucking wild, dude.
That is wild, dude. That is wild.
One of the girls from the next table approaches the ugly-looking kid and asks him for a light. I shouldn't say ugly, but like his personality instantly makes him feel ugly.
Yeah, he's kind of ugly.
He is kind of. He tells her to sit down next to him and immediately grabs her in a violent fashion when she does, asking her if she wants to fuck him. Her friend quickly intervenes, but the man continues to physically and verbally menace the girl, and we never do get to see him let her go before the scene ends. So did you scout the credits after you watched this?
Wait, we're just gonna like brush over the fact that he like, I'm gonna laugh while I fuck you. It's like there is just some
I wasn't going to bring
repulsive.
up that line because it was repulsive.
There is some repulsive.
I didn't want to
shit.
say that out loud. Yeah.
Okay, well, I wanted to bring it up because this is like some repulsive shit in this dude.
It really is, yeah.
It's
like we thought we've seen bad characters before.
And I've seen some bad character, like there's bad characters in Lynch stuff, but this is just like, what is this about?
You'll learn.
Yeah.
But so did you scout the credits to find out who this is?
No. I mean, I did look at the credits, but I didn't, I was like curious about the band because the band is not a focus really in this episode at the end. And it's like,
no, they're just kind of setting the mood.
And it says Riley Lynch. It's like, oh, it's a Lynch son. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually really has a band or if this is just a fake band.
No, it's really his band.
It's really his band. Okay, because I know he's also an actor in some stuff, but yeah, usually the band is like the focus, and this was really not.
Right.
No, I didn't catch. Oh, the Caleb kid. But then I couldn't. I didn't really look. I didn't recognize the name, so I didn't like look into it about the X-Men Banshee stuff. But that was the only guy I really was curious about because he looked familiar. This kid doesn't look familiar, so I wasn't really concerned about who he was.
Well, okay, I can tell you who he is,
Okay.
because or you can just look at the credits and determine it yourself. That's how I found out.
Oh, okay.
So do you want me to go ahead and
Sure, go
spoil
ahead.
it for
Yeah,
you?
I don't care.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to know who this character was because they clearly seemed important. And
Well, yeah, he
I
seems like he's the
didn't,
devil or some. He's like some
yeah,
asshole kid.
and I didn't recognize the actor. So I scrolled through the credits and I ran across a character name where I was like, "Oh, is this where we're going with this?" And and then Googled the actor, and my hunch was correct. The character's name is Richard Horn.
Oh, okay. So is this the
So,
son
knowing
of
that,
Audrey? This is Audrey's son?
that's one theory.
Oh, okay. Is
Who
this?
would the father of Audrey's son be? So, who? Okay, given
I
how
mean,
obviously evil Richard is, who would the father of Audrey's son be?
what you think he raped her?
Who?
Wait. I want to know you. I just want to hear you to hear it. I don't want to say it. I just want to hear you say it.
You cut out. You cut out on the
I
mic.
just want you to say what you
I'm
think of
just
it.
offering you theories here, dude.
What do you think?
I can't say.
Oh, you can't say. So
I
there's this
can't rightly
guy
say what I
Horn,
think. Richard Horn.
Richard Horn.
Hmm.
So Audrey's the only heir,
Well,
right?
there's Johnny, I
Oh, there is
suppose.
John. So John fucked a woman, and they gave birth to Richard Horn. Dick Horn.
I'm encouraging you to spout your own theories, so if that's where you want to go with it.
And then Audrey. Did Audrey go to Australia with what's his name? And then they had a son. And this is this dickhead son they had?
Does it seem like a guy like John Justice Wheeler would raise a son like Richard Horn?
I mean, the kid looks a little sick. You're not implying that her dad fucked her and had this kid, are you?
Where are you getting that from?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, is it like he's an awful person? I don't know who would
Who
Audrey
is the
fuck?
most evil person that we've met so far in the series?
Uh, 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 Bob.
Well, sort of.
Oh my god.
Who is Bob currently occupying?
Oh, you think that they fucked? That's the idea here?
That's a theory.
Oh, I see what you're saying. He came back and took advantage of her. And then she's upset with him. And then when she finds the real Cooper, he's going to be a totally different guy and has no idea what she's talking about. That's interesting. That's an interesting theory. Does that? I guess we'll find out if that plays out. You obviously know or don't know already if that plays out. That's interesting.
I'm saying that's one theory. I'm
I
saying it's
disagree with
extremely
that. I
unlikely
disagree with that
that
100% because
Johnny Horn had a child,
I disagree with that
given
because
his
like
condition.
he has like fucking Art Garfunkel hair, and it's like Cooper and Audrey have both dark hair, like
Oh,
straight
and let's
long
also
hair.
not forget
Like, why would you have a
the
kid with like
last position
curly?
that we saw Audrey in. Like when we last saw Audrey, she was being blown the fuck up.
So she's dead. So it's not
So
Audrey's kid.
is it?
Oh my god, you're just fucking with me. You're just here to fuck with
I
me.
am now, yeah, because I don't want to spoil the rest of this fucking show for you. But
It wouldn't really spoil it for me.
since you made me spoil that guy's identity, I'm trying to avoid going farther from that.
I mean, it could be also. There's two Horn brothers. I mean, one of them could have
There are.
sired a kid,
There are. And Jerry was younger. Jerry could have a son about Richard's
and
age.
Jerry had curly
That's
hair in the show.
He did. Jerry, on the other hand, seems pretty mellow these days. But
No, he
he
doesn't.
wasn't
He
always a
seems
saint.
he seems kind of weaponized by Jacoby, so he could have fucked.
Weaponized.
He fucked
Yeah.
Nadine, and then Nadine gave birth to this child.
All right. Yeah. That's definitely a four beer theory right there.
I don't know. I don't. Ugh. The idea that that's. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, we don't end with the Roadhouse show this week. Instead, we move on to Agent Preston's desk, where Tabby is studying and comparing the old and new versions of Cooper's headshots and fingerprints. No dialogue in the scene, but something is clearly troubling Tammy based on her expression. Moving even further along, we're now in a common area at the federal prison where Mr. C is
Oh wait,
about
wait,
to
wait,
make
wait.
his phone
Let's go
call.
back to the Tammy thing. There was something that was
Okay.
bothering me too.
What's that?
Of all the shots, close-ups of Cooper, why does it look like we have a close-up shot of Cooper in the lodge? Like, why couldn't we have
No, it
picked
looked
a
like to
shot?
me.
No, it looks like
No, that's
red
from.
curtains. 100% looks like red curtains, bro. 100% looks like
No,
red
that's the
curtains.
conference room. Conference
No.
room at the sheriff's station.
No, what? It does not look
That's.
like the conference room. It looks like red curtains.
I disagree.
It looks like red background.
I thought, yeah. No, that's not where I saw it from.
Well, I saw red curtains. And then they have the red curtains. Also, where
It's natural lighting. It's sunlight lighting his face in that photo. It's not red room lighting.
what? I
Look again. Look at it again.
you look at it again too.
I will.
Looks like
Maybe.
there looks like
I mean,
the
I already watched the damn episode 3 times, so why don't you look at it again?
I looked at it multiple times. I
I'm
showed it to
sure
you
you
multiple
did.
times. It
Yeah.
looks like
Yeah, I
red.
paused it and zoomed
I
in
did.
and
I mean, I have a big TV, and it doesn't look like wood or like whatever the finish is on the. It looks like red curtains.
it looks like a warm wash over a wood finish to me.
Mm-hmm. Looks like red
A warm
curtains.
wash over the photo.
I think they did it on purpose, Gabe.
Moving further
Did it on
along,
purpose.
we're now in a common area at the federal prison where Mr. C is about to make his phone call. After delivering the telephone, the warden heads upstairs to a control room to observe with a couple of other guards. Mr. C stares directly into the camera and speaks out loud, addressing everyone that he knows is listening in. He wonders ominously if he should call Mr. Strawberry, a statement that, for some reason, seems to strike fear into the heart of the warden. Mr. C then claims that Mr. Strawberry isn't taking calls right now, and then says he knows who to call, then picks up the phone and dials rapidly a series of seemingly random numbers.
A bunch of them too. Not like phone number.
A bunch of them. Yeah, upwards of, I lost count at 20. As he puts the receiver to his ear, suddenly all of the alarms in the prison begin going off, sending in everyone in the control room into a panic. A couple of the monitors in there appear to start showing random television channels in the chaos. Not the one with Mr. C, though. You can still see him just staring all the while. He speaks one sentence, "The cow jumped over the moon," and then hangs up the phone, at which point the alarms all stop just as suddenly as they have begun, leaving everyone in the control room befuddled.
This is a dumb scene.
Now, well, that was dumb. Now, we get an exterior shot of Buenos Aires, of all places, before we cut to the interior of a building where we see a familiar-looking bare light bulb. It looks to be lighting some attic stuffed with shelves and shelves of old files, and on the floor, the dish containing the odd black device with the two lights that we saw earlier in the episode, which we assume the fixer had sent her Argent text to. Do me a favor and search that word real quick. Argent.
Argent?
Mm-hmm. The device beeps twice and the red lights blink in unison. And then suddenly the device shrivels into a small little nugget of metal.
Argent can refer to a color, a heraldic? Heraldic? I don't know what that means. A heraldic term, a wallet, or a band.
Heraldic, like a herald.
There you go. Well, no,
So,
a heraldic term, Not like an actual herald, but like a
Right,
term.
but like a term
Term,
saying
like yeah.
announcing some arrival of some sort.
Let me see for sure. Let me see. What does heraldic mean? Copy. Learning new words tonight
Yeah.
on Blank as a Fart.
Vocabulary lesson. Vocab corner.
Relating to heraldry. Oh, you're so helpful.
That's the way a lot of adverbs are, or
The
adjectives.
system by which coats of arms and other armoral bearings are devised, described, and regulated.
Yeah, none of this is helpful. Let's move on from that.
Colorful. Colorful seems to be the one thing that kind of keeps.
Yeah, but there's no color in the black box with the real little red lights. I don't know.
I don't know. Color
We'll
seems to
have to
be.
look further into that. I do want to make the note that Buenos Aires was a location that Philip Jeffries was in at one point.
I want to comment on the fact that those guys didn't have to leave their room when he was making this fucking phone call. Anyway, it seems so
Yeah.
wild to me that like that's something that it's not. It doesn't have to be a. You're not entitled to a private phone call. You're just entitled to a phone call. Like,
Right. Yeah. Again, lots of odd Hollywood tropes.
yeah.
I mean, and it's not like it was a private phone call, and it's not like he didn't know they were listening in on him. They just weren't in the same room while they did it.
And I was just like, oh my god, here we go, just stupid shit like blah 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 blah, blah boom boom boom. It's just like,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
It did give a little added menace to Mr. C, I think. Everybody's starting to understand that they're not dealing with an ordinary human being.
Well, no, it definitely did that. That he's not ordinary, but it also made him just kind of more of a comical like goof. Like,
A little more cartoony. Yeah.
like anything can happen now. Like you could try and defeat him, but he's gonna do something stupid that's gonna make. It's like great.
Yeah.
We don't get to fight.
He could MacGyver a telephone to break the whole
We don't get.
prison.
Yeah, we don't get to fight by science. We have to deal with writer logic. Awesome.
Well, dude, did you ever expect this was going to end with a scientifically sound
No,
explanation?
but I would just like it to be more real and not just like, oh, the MacGuffin.
Well, you
the
are on the
MacGuff,
wrong ride, my friend.
the MacGuffin, MacGuffin. Anyway, it's just like, nah.
Yeah.
There should still be a level of good and true that comes through and defeats, and it's just like, if you can just endlessly write out of whatever, and that's the kind of shit. Some of the shit is why I don't like this type of shit, because it's like there's not a real story here. Then you can't have. There's no real parameters to work within storytelling. It's just crazy upon crazy upon crazy upon crazy, and then you're just kind of like left to be either, I don't know, just disheartened about the end. Ultimately.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
just wait till you get to the very end, I guess.
Cool.
One last shot of Dougie, who is now stroking the shoelaces of the cowboy statue as a security guard walks by and tells him to move it along before the end credits begin their roll while some smooth jazz plays in the background.
Oh, that's the one thing I forgot to mention.
Hmm.
The fucking jazz drumming, like fucking Birdman earlier in the episode with Dougie. Like when he's trying to, like when he's going. Anyway, it's just like, come on.
Oh.
Just move on from that shit. Come on. Anyway. Neither here nor there, but it was
Dougie
just,
and jazz.
it was bugging
What is
me.
the connection between Dougie and jazz that we get?
I don't know. Jazz hands?
No, it's a recurring motif, though. Like a lot of whenever Dougie is doing his thing, we tend to hear some like kind of upbeat. Not necessarily at the end. I don't think the one that closed the credits this week was an upbeat song, but Dougie wasn't particularly upbeat at that point. Anyway,
like all the coffee and elevator and into the lobby and stuff. They're like doing this like Birdman jazz drumming stuff. It's not even like they're not playing other instruments. It's just straight up jazz drumming. It's just doing that thing like from Birdman, and it's just like, all right. It's fine.
I don't think Lynch was the first to do it either, but
No,
I
no,
would argue
no.
that Birdman stole it from Lynch.
Birdman was before this.
No.
Birdman?
Michael Keaton, Birdman?
Yeah, wasn't that before? Isn't that before 2016?
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I've never seen it.
Oh, really? I thought it was before.
Oh, he's looking this one up right away,
Yeah,
folks.
because I feel like this is. I feel like this is. Yeah, it's 2014.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess Lynch stole it from
well, I'm not. No,
Henry.
no, no. I'm not. That it's been done before, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like Birdman didn't
Yeah.
do it either. I mean, they just did it within this like one take film. But I just feel like, oh, okay, here we go again.
Hmm.
It's not. It's fine. It's fine.
It's a slightly overused trope to try and convey whimsy.
And edginess and like trying to create some drama and
A little bit.
it's trying to do all these things at once. It's I don't know. I just thought it was
I mean,
funny that he was using it here for this guy who I guess you need it to kind of colorize what's happening because it's so slow. Really, you're
yeah.
doing this really sped up kind of like tempo thing, where you really have this character who's not really doing much. So I get it,
Yeah.
but it's just like, oh,
So the background music represents impatience.
yeah, sure, 100%. Anyway,
Yeah.
and maybe it fits. I don't know.
It feels like it fits to me.
I mean, I know you're a fan.
Yeah.
I'm just commenting on it.
Right. You're just saying how you could
Whether
have
I
done
like it
all
or
better.
dislike it, I'm just commenting on what it is. Okay. Anyway, my least favorite episode by far. I think we really could have cut this way down, put some of this in other episodes, and moved on. Still interested.
Yeah,
Still
it's
interested to like check out the. I mean, Gabe, I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel like I'm shitting on you. I know you feel like I'm shitting on you. I'm here for the long haul. I just feel like this episode was incredibly just.
it was again, yeah, it wasn't a lot of movement. It was a lot of breadcrumbs. And I feel like your frustration is going to build for the next few weeks. I having only watched The Return twice, I don't have the same idea of pacing of the storylines as I do with the original series, and it really doesn't follow any kind of logic either. So
I was really surprised though
I'm not
watching
sure about
this. I was really surprised watching this
aside
how
from
much I
from
missed the original series. Actually,
hmm. Well, and you don't get a lot of that same homey vibe, at least not as much of it. You do kind of in the scenes at the sheriff's station, like with Andy and Lucy or with Andy and Hawk. Um, but like we haven't had any scenes at the high school, so to speak. The Roadhouse is completely different. It's just got a huge crowd in it every night, and it's got all these
it
like all these national bands.
it feels
It
like a
feels like a
very.
very different
It's a
place.
very. I feel like to me it's a very way more cynical vibe this series than I feel like the
For sure.
original series had a bit more of a heart to it, and this. I guess the Dougie scenes have the heart right now, but
Hmm.
it's just like, man, that's a lot to weigh my
Yeah.
what I liked from the original series and my like the Dougie scenes are not my favorite. So like the heart is not connecting right now, so I find it hard to watch. Yeah, it just I miss the optimism of the original series and it's just not here and it's kind of a difficult watch for me right now. That's just all I can say. I know I know
It
I
was
know
a difficult watch for me too.
I know
In
season
in the
2.
beginning, like I wasn't sure what to expect, but this was not it.
Okay. I would be
And
interested.
I had
I would love to
once
see
we're done,
the.
I'll express
Okay.
my frustrations with the piece as a whole
Mhm.
because I had plenty of them.
I I would be
But the
interested.
more
Like
I watch it,
I'm curious. Like you brought it up earlier, but like I would be curious. I don't know. We'll see what my thoughts are later. But it would be interesting. Will I have a thought like, man, this might have been an awesome 9-part series. Like it probably would have been a definitive Like, will that be my definitive outlook? Like, maybe there is a lot here that could have been an awesome 9-episode series. Like, if you really edited it, and like took it under a microscope and really worked and massaged it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious. I'm gonna be curious. That's what I'm looking at now as I watch it. Like, what is necessary? What isn't? And now
And
I'm
then you
kind
can
of.
be like that wacko who edited the Star Wars prequel trilogy down to one movie.
That was Topher Grace.
Like I said, wacko.
Oh, he's a super fan. Anyway,
He is. And probably a pretty nice guy from what I gather. So
I'm pretty sure that was that guy.
apologies,
I'm
Jofer.
pretty sure that was
Yeah,
him.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I did just have a little bit of supplemental material, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we're already running long tonight.
Not long enough.
Shit. I touched on some of the supplemental material in the later discs because I kind of expected it to be paired with its partner episodes, but the last two discs of the box set are all about these episodes of what they call behind the curtain, which is just straight up behind the scenes footage of them filming the return. It doesn't have like a story structure. There's no narration or anything. It's just raw footage of cast and crew working. Um, so I don't know what the point of divvying it into parts is. It's not necessarily like the parts they release for this don't exactly line up with the parts of the episode that they're filming. But like by and large, as far as the whole of the story beats go, they do.
Okay.
So like I've only watched parts 1 and 2 so far. And I did spot a scene in those that doesn't happen until actually part 5, but it's nothing that would really spoil anything that goes on with the story. Um, so the scenes that we get a really close look at are Mr. C fetching Daria and Ray from what presumably I think what was the brothel or the whorehouse or whatever.
Right. Right.
We get a lot of time spent there. Um,
Which
like
is
their
crazy
initial
because that was a
scout.
pretty short scene, really.
It was, but like they're doing the whole setup of the room, and Lynch is like directing where the furniture should go, and is offering to help move the furniture, and everybody is telling him, no, 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 we'll do it,
I
which
have
I
a,
thought was funny.
so did this release all at the same time? Like when they shot this, when it came out, did they release it week to week, or was it like all at once? Or
I don't know, honestly. I'd have to
oh,
look at that. I don't know if it was something that Showtime released or if it was something that was exclusively for the box set. I would have to double check.
no, but like the actual episodes of the show.
Oh, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 all dropped simultaneously on the streaming service. On the actual broadcast, parts 1 and 2 aired as a single episode. Parts 3 and 4 aired as a single episode.
And they were doing that weekly.
Yes. And then the rest of the series aired single parts weekly, 1 hour blocks.
So that would make sense that like he spent a lot. There's a lot of footage of that first initial behind the scenes of that because that's like one of the first things he's shooting. There's a lot of energy behind that. He probably shot that a lot more than he normally would, just because
Well, and it does
we're
like
just kicking this off.
each of the segments does display the date of the shoot,
Mm.
and I didn't compare them to line up to where like who was shooting what when. Um,
But I
but
just
yeah,
know
that's
I just know from like experience, like when you kick off on a production, there tends to be in that early stage of the production, there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff and everyone wants to cover it and like do a lot of stuff. As production
yeah.
wears on, you begin to like, fuck this, we've been doing this for a while. There becomes, so like at the beginning there's going to be a lot of content generally, I mean, who knows? They might have put someone on it eventually, and then there's just a steady amount of content. But I know usually at the very beginning, there's just a lot of content, regardless of.
Well, so Behind the Curtain does have 18 parts, just like the series.
Oh, okay.
And the two parts that I watched were about 20 minutes and about 30 minutes, respectively.
Okay.
So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to accumulate to a shitload
Right.
of behind the scenes footage if every one of those 18 parts is that same length.
And they probably had even more than that. They just didn't share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, it's very small pieces. Like most of what we get with the actors are rehearsals. We get a lot of them running lines like out of costume, or like some of them are in costume, some of them are out of costume because they're not actually being filmed in that take. So yeah, it's a lot of fascinating behind the scenes stuff. What else do we see? We see him working with Matthew Lillard in the jail cell.
Ruh-roh.
Uh, we see Ben and Jerry doing their meeting in the office, and we see Ashley Judd out of costume, but she's there and she runs her lines with them. They're in full costume.
Why is that even important at this point? That scene.
Just to show you that they haven't changed all that much, I guess. Ashley Judd comes back for the record, but
Is that it? I mean, we got Horn in this episode, but do we not see uh much of the other Horn brothers moving forward?
I mean, they're not as important to the series now as they
Oh.
were then. No,
So why have them? Why do anyway?
because they're still
these are
they're still there.
I
The
get
Great
it,
Northern is still, you know.
but the Great
I
Northern
mean,
plays
these
no part in this story. So
most of the people that we know in Twin Peaks, we know because they were related to Laura. And now that Laura is gone, there's no real anchor 25 years later to tie them all together, except for the audience who knows and loves these people. So if you insist on looking at Twin Peaks as a meta commentary like a lot of people do, then, there are certain proxy reasons that are supposed to be the audience that keep these characters in the positions that they find themselves in.
just a giant fan wank.
Could
Got
be.
it.
Could be. They also touch on that first meeting between Cooper and the Giant in the black and white room. And then part two. And also filming the scene at the apartment building where they find Ruth's body. Lynch himself is the one to position the fake headless corpse in the bed. Like he positions it directly himself. Working on the scene with Ray and Daria, or not Ray and Daria, with Mr. C and Daria, or Mr. C ends up killing her. The most fascinating aspect of watching that was that Lynch applied all of the makeup to Daria himself by hand.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to watch. I mean, we don't see a lot of footage of him doing it, but you see that it's him doing it, like with the brush, putting the fake blood on her face. Like you see him putting little pieces of fake brain next to her head. You see him blowing the gunpowder dust, the residue, like just with a little straw on the other side of her head. It's just like he's very, very hands-on with just like the most minute details of the scene.
That's a complicated scene to. Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah. Also, some of the scene in the Red Room with Cooper and older Laura.
Okay.
There is some fun footage watching Cheryl Lee practice reciting her lines backwards.
Oh, okay.
Where like Lynch actually asks her to do it in a more like seductive voice. So she says it forward in the seductive tone, listens to it backward, and then repeats the seductive backward take backward, and then they run it forward again. And then Lynch listens to it and goes, "Yes, that's the one. That's the take we need."
Interesting.
And so it's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So watching that work and
Hmm.
And it's also like there's a scene where he's trying to get a shot of Laura like rising up into the air, and they have like this rudimentary platform that elevates her or whatever, and he's just continually not pleased by the way it turns out. He's just like, no, it just looks like she's just standing up. And he's trying to talk people into like rigging a harness to yank her up, and they have to talk him out of it because they don't have the materials available and everything, blah blah blah. One thing they do for each episode is they always show the wrap announcement for a cast member who is filming their last scene.
That's cool. Yeah.
Even for the most minor characters. So we saw a wrap announcement for Otis and Beulah in the whorehouse. We saw a wrap announcement for the police officers who discover the body, for the wacky neighbor with the dog, and then also for Sam and Tracy. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't mention. They cover that scene, and there is a little bit of footage of them filming two different people that aren't Sam and Tracy seated on the same couch in the same room. And it's just like the shortest glimpse of them. But they look to be like in a costume and look to be receiving direction. So I don't know if there's other footage of another couple watching the box or what,
Okay.
but yeah, watching him work with the actors was fun. Everybody seemed relaxed. Everybody seemed like they were having a great time. There were a lot of smiles on set. He seemed receptive to ideas like Madeline Zima, who played Tracy, pitched a specific notion of blocking to achieve something that he was looking to have happen. He was just like, yes, that's exactly what we need to happen. That's a great idea. And so it was just, yeah, he looked it all, and maybe this is specifically curated so we just see this aspect of it, but it really looked like everybody was having a great time and enjoying themselves.
I
So,
mean, I've never been under the impression that Lynch was a difficult director.
mhm.
I've never had that impression. I always felt like everyone
Oh,
he's always kind of cherry picked who he wants to work with, and everyone who's worked with him, he's always had really good relationships with. And you can see that by the amount of people that come back and work with him again. Like especially in this, obviously, you have a bunch of returnees that weren't in Lynch, but they've worked with him before. Naomi Watts. Like you have,
mhm.
there's a bunch of so. I've never had this idea that he was a difficult director. I'd be
Yeah, and
more
I'm not
curious. I'd
implying.
be more curious, like just what it is like to work with him, like just what it looks like. But I don't really have a. I never got the impression that he was difficult.
Yeah, no, just he seems very not like the dictator type, very collaborative, very
Just a lot
very
of
open.
cigarettes, a lot of smoke.
There is that. He does have that ashtray parked next to him the whole time. He's not always smoking, but he is smoking most of the time. All right, gang, I think we have rambled on long enough.
Here,
Thanks for
there's
tagging
one. Wait,
along.
wait, wait. There's one comment I want to say. Like,
Hmm.
I know these episodes are going long. I know Gabe is not happy with them going long, but there is something to consider as we go out on these, start doing these return episodes. They are full hour-long episodes. They are 15 minutes longer than the 45-minute episodes that we were doing before. So, Gabe is talking longer for another 15 minutes about describing those scenes, and then I am also commenting on those scenes, Gabe. So, and while a lot of our episodes previously were like max 2 hours, I think it's understandable that we're talking longer because of that, and not necessarily because I'm just ranting. Because like, maybe I had a quick 10-second rant. I don't think I ranted that much this time. I think it is really just you have a lot more to have to get out, and then we're still trying to leave me space to comment on these scenes, and I think it's only natural. So like either we have to like cut down on some of the, you got to like somehow find a way to like minimize the describing, or I just don't talk at all. and we just like. But like if you're just recapping episodes, I don't know how exciting that is. So I'm
I get you.
sorry. I'm sorry if they're longer, but it's because these episodes are full hours long. So anyway, I just
That
wanted.
definitely contributes. I agree.
I just feel like I know Gabe's been upset with me that these episodes have been kind of going long, and I feel like for me I felt kind of pressured, like it's my fault because I'm drunk and I just rant, but I'm not really drunk this evening, and I do feel like I didn't really rant a lot. I did rant, but I didn't. It wasn't like I didn't go off for like 5 minutes or something, like I did last week. But I think it is like they are full hour episodes. Gabe is saying a lot more,
Yeah,
and I still have things to
we
talk
do. We
about.
do have more
And
material
then
to cover.
Gabe does have like wrap up content that he wants to share too. Like we were done with the episode at 2 hours, but then he had some stuff he wanted to share additionally, and now we're at 2:30. It's just so I don't know how we want to deal with that, Gabe, but that's kind of
one might say we're being overindulgent.
Yeah, but I don't think it really matters because it's a podcast and people can pause
like
it.
an 18-hour
No,
movie.
but I don't think it really matters. I mean, maybe, but like I think you listen to this for us to talk about it. It's a podcast. They can pause it and they can listen to the rest half later. No one listens. I don't think I have no delusion that like people listen to this straight through. My interpretation of it is that they listen to it, they pause it, they go about their business, they come back to it, and they listen to it again. It's like a book, and that's what we're here to do. So I don't until someone writes in and says fucking stop with the 2.5 hour episodes. I feel like we should just keep going. So that is my opinion. So, and I've never had anyone say shorter episodes. I've always had people in my other podcasts always longer episodes. So because it's only once a week. So
You definitely understand podcast culture better than I do. There's no argument from me there. So
all right. So just don't feel bad about it, Gabe.
I won't. I just feel tired.
What are you talking about? You keep me up till like 12 o'clock at night talking.
Oh,
maybe not tonight, but like usually you're just like
not tonight. No,
20 drinks in, and you're like, man, let's talk about Arkham Knight again.
20 drinks in.
At least 3 or 4.
That's a much fairer assessment.
Anyway, go ahead, wrap up.
So anyway, yeah, we're done for the night. I know Ian didn't enjoy this episode all that much, and I'm not gonna lie, I found it a little lifeless. I don't want to necessarily use the word dull because we learn a lot, but we don't learn what it means yet, and that's really what we want to know. So we're not quite a third of the way through yet, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're not even going to touch on for a very long time. So all I can do is counsel patience and tell you that the ride is fun, even if the destination isn't necessarily where you think it's going to take you. That's all I'll say about it for now. It is all about the journey, and it's about enjoying the art for what you think it is and not necessarily trying to make sure that everybody thinks it's the exact same art that you see.
Of course. I have no problem with that. That's why I'm here.
Yep. So yeah, we thank you for joining us, and I think we'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary on our next episode, or maybe the episode after. So maybe we'll see if we can figure out something special for that. So anyway, thanks again for joining us this week. Part 6 will be next Wednesday at 8, just like usual. Until then, let a smile be your umbrella. We'll talk to you all soon, folks. Take care. Like us a fart pod at gmail.com. I ain't never gonna read it, y'all.